Chapter 127. Path of Returning Primordial Spirit. Completely becoming a dragon, Guwen was merely puzzled and had no intention of investigating LV Baitin or LV Xian. No matter what these people's identities were, or what conspiracy they might have, as long as it didn't affect him, he couldn't be bothered to care. The hearts of the people in this world were unpredictable. To investigate each one would be exhausting. Guwen and LV Xian started to chat idly. Now, LV Xian was very respectful towards him and didn't dare to be even a little frivolous. They chatted for quite a while before Guwen finally left. Everyone in the valley was already used to him not spending the night in Tianya Valley. After Guwen left, LV Xian found Yi Luyun and began to spar in combat, preparing for the Golden Ranking Tournament. There were only 2 years left until the Golden Ranking Tournament. Years passed by, and the 9 Dynasties' lands welcomed peace, while the Supreme Sects' Golden Ranking Tournament drew the attention of people from all over the world, becoming a once-in-century grand event. 2 years later, as the Golden Ranking Tournament approached, cultivators could be seen soaring across the sky over Mystic Valley every day. Unlike before, the Supreme Sect dispatched many disciples to patrol and protect all outer sect servant disciples, maintaining their image as the true orthodox sect of the world. 72-year-old Guwen was in the loft, receiving Yilan. The first batch of disciples who went to train on the 9 Nether Road had all returned and were all preparing to participate in the Golden Ranking Tournament to bring glory to the Supreme Sect. Having not seen each other for many years, Yilan's temperament had become even more outstanding, showing the demeanor of a genius female cultivator. She remembered Guwen's words and had been continually cultivating Taoist expansion skill, so her cultivation level hadn't increased. The two sat and chatted, with Yilan recounting the wonders of the 9 Nether Road, and Guwen listened with keen interest. The 9 Nether Road, which was said to be a road, was actually more like a secret realm, with demons and ghosts running rampant, having its own unique ecosystem and producing many special heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Yilan said that she also encountered cultivators and members of the demon clan not from the 9 Dynasties lands within the 9 Nether Road. From her descriptions, Guwen envisioned many scenes in his mind and found them very interesting. After chatting for a full hour, Guwen finally asked, "Will you be participating in the Golden Ranking Tournament?" Yilan nodded and said, "Yes, the elders gave me a post. All the 100 disciples from the 9 Nether Road must participate. The first Golden Ranking Tournament must be grand and cannot bring shame to the Supreme Sect." Guwen blinked, feeling a bit helpless. Couldn't he send out the post he had in his hand? Shenzhen, Guyu, and Zuolin all had posts, and the disciples in the valley had mediocre aptitudes. Participating would be futile and only lead to suffering. "Senior brother, why don't you participate too? Although your cultivation level isn't high, your strength is far from simple," Yilan said with a light laugh, remembering that Guwen's leg technique was very strong. Since Guwen's cultivation level hadn't increased, he must have spent most of his time practicing his leg technique, which made his strength undoubtedly formidable. Guwen helplessly replied, "I can't even beat you. Participating in the Golden Ranking Tournament would just be asking for trouble." After hearing this, Yilan didn't persuade him any further and started chatting about the affairs of the Immortal cultivation world. It wasn't until evening that Yilan left Mystic Valley. Guwen stood on the balcony, a smile on his face. Yilan's maximum lifespan had increased by a year, though insignificant. It showed that the Taoist expansion skill was indeed somewhat effective. Chu Jingfeng, Lu Jiujia, and Xiaochuan's maximum lifespans hadn't increased, probably due to their level of dedication, and the spiritual energy of the 9 Nether Road was far richer than that of Medicine Valley. Guwen turned around and went back indoors to continue his study of the Ziwei Array Chronicles. This book had deepened Guwen's understanding of formations, bringing him closer to becoming a true Mahayana cultivator. Mahayana cultivators were not only accomplished in their cultivation but also had rich life experiences and knowledge in various supplementary paths. Guwen didn't need to cultivate, so he could spend his time accumulating knowledge in other areas. That night, Guwen sneaked to North Sea Mountain, hid under a tree, and opened the lifespan barrier, then invested 5,000 years of lifespan into the Taoist expansion skill. Since the Taoist expansion skill was useful, he thought he would enhance it and see what happened. A series of notifications appeared crazily before Guan's eyes, and eventually, the Taoist expansion skill advanced to the Taoist mystic skill. It only took 2,000 years of lifespan for the Taoist expansion skill to advance to the Taoist mystic skill, and the remaining 3,000 years were just for enhancing its proficiency. Guan immediately invested another 5,000 years of lifespan. This time, after cultivating for 2,000 years, the Taoist mystic skill advanced to the primordial reincarnation skill. It had primordial in its name so quickly, indicating that the Taoist expansion skill itself had a high rank and grade. No wonder only Yilan and Wuxia had mastered it so far. Afterward, the primordial reincarnation skill allowed him to master a divine skill called the Path of Returning Primordial Spirit. Guan began to inherit the primordial reincarnation skill, and earth spirit energy surged into his body. A vast amount of memory flooded his mind. The primordial reincarnation skill contained the mysteries of the Taoist expansion skill and extended the profoundness of accumulating cultivation level to be passed on through lifetimes. After cultivating the primordial reincarnation skill, one's cultivation level would no longer increase. Instead, through accumulating spiritual power, one's aptitudes would transform. Unlike the Taoist expansion skill, it was no longer limited to one lifetime but could be repeated, and each time the accumulated cultivation level was greater, the transformation in aptitude would be more substantial. Moreover, the primordial reincarnation skill would form a soul imprint. After a cultivator's death and rebirth, the memory of the skill would awaken in adulthood in each lifetime, continuing to accumulate until reaching immortality or the soul's demise, where the path of reincarnation ceased. The Path of Returning Primordial Spirit was an extremely domineering sealing divine skill that could suppress a being's cultivation level to a certain realm or even completely seal them, turning them into a mortal spirit without any cultivation. This seal could only be unlocked using the Path of Returning Primordial Spirit. Even if powerful beings far surpassing Guan's capabilities tried to help, it would cause the spiritual power to run amok, making the sealed one's cultivation run wild and causing immediate death. Upon understanding this divine skill, Guan was very fond of it. He just happened to be lacking such a means. As for the primordial reincarnation skill, he considered it mastered, and he was not inclined to invest more time into it. He did not seek thousands of worlds, he only pursued this lifetime. But this skill could be taught to those he cared about. Through the memories of the primordial reincarnation skill, Guan learned a harsh truth. The 9 layers of Immortal Path, each layer harder than the last. The first layer was Nirvana, a realm where mortal spirits transcended. Before reaching Nirvana, lifespans could not exceed tens of thousands of years. Only after Nirvana could one witness a fundamental transformation in life essence, drastically increasing lifespan. Guan suddenly realized that maximum lifespan might not just indicate aptitude but could also represent the maximum time each being had in this world, serving as a measure of one's life. For example, and Hao had nearly 10,000 years to pursue the Nirvana realm, while Yilan had less than 200 years. The latter, even with multiple opportunities, would be in vain. The Taoist expansion skill could help Yilan extend her time in the world, but its effect was limited. Even if Yilan mastered the primordial reincarnation skill, her maximum lifespan would only increase several times at most. Guan slowly opened his eyes, his gaze deep. Heavenly Destiny. Summer arrived, and the Supreme Sects Golden Ranking Tournament commenced as scheduled. Participants in the Golden Ranking Tournament were all cultivators under 500 years old, and the Supreme Sect would test the bone age of the participants specifically. The post Leia had given to Guan for the Golden Ranking Tournament, he wasn't sure who to give it to, and didn't want to waste it, so he chose to register himself. At 72 years of age, he successfully registered with the eligibility of youth. The Golden Ranking Tournament was conducted in a one-on-one format, with no fixed duration, continuing until completion. The Supreme Sect would heal the injured participants to keep them in optimal condition. Special formations would be set up by the Supreme Sect to suppress the higher cultivations to the level of their opponents, ensuring fairness in terms of realm. When the golden ranking tournament began, Guwen was watching from the eaves of the outer sect, sitting with Yilan. Between them was a small table, accompanied by spirit melons, spirit fruits, and fine wine. From their perspective, a gigantic light screen was suspended in the air above the outer sect, reflecting the scenes of the combats within. Guwen didn't recognize the two cultivators fighting but enjoyed the spectacle nonetheless. As Yilan peeled some fruit for Guwen, she said, "Senior brother, the cultivation technique you passed to me is very difficult, much harder than the previous one. I wonder when I'll be able to master it." Guwen replied, "Cultivating is never easy. The Taoist expansion skill could at most double one's maximum lifespan, while the primordial reincarnation skill could increase it several times. If Yilan could master it, living to 800 years this lifetime wouldn't be impossible. For someone with Yilan's aptitude, this was already a great blessing." Yilan smiled and said, "I will definitely master it, don't worry." At this moment, a thunderous uproar rose in the city. It turned out that the first combat had already concluded. The victor is Duan Su from the Flame sect of the Great Zhao dynasty. Gu Zong's voice resounded from the giant light screen, causing the whole city to buzz with discussion. Yilan looked at the screen and smiled. "Impressive." Guwen nodded and then picked up his cup to drink. "Brother Gu." A voice came from the side. Guwen and Yilan turned to see Wu Ju standing on a distant rooftop, looking at them with a very unpleasant expression. 5 years had passed, and Wu Ju was still at the 9th layer of the Foundation establishment realm, but his chi blood was vastly different from before. Ignoring him for 5 years, his maximum lifespan must have skyrocketed, right? Guwen felt like he was about to open a mystery box. He cautiously used lifespan detection on him. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment Realm, 9th Layer, 74/350/7600, 7,600 years. Good grief. Now, he had truly become a dragon. Wu Ju suddenly appeared on the rooftop where Guwen and Yilan were, 7 steps away. He frowned and asked, "Who is this woman? Are you not being faithful to Miss Shin?" Upon hearing this, Yilan squinted her eyes at Guwen and asked, "Who is Miss Shin?" Guwen felt a headache coming on and immediately said, "This is my junior sister, Yilan. Miss Shin is nothing, how can she compare? I just have some dealings with Miss Shin, nothing more." Yilan's expression softened upon hearing this. Wu Ju angrily said, "Forget about Miss Shin, why didn't you come to see me after you were done?" Yilan was taken aback. She thought Wu Ju had something to do with Miss Shin and had come to stand up for her, but why did his tone suddenly change? Guwen shook his head and said, "Why are you shouting so loud? I didn't want to disturb your cultivation. What, do you want to hit me?" Wu Ju's face turned red with anger, and he muttered, "How could I hit you?" Yilan sensed that Wu Ju was not simple, and looking at his embarrassed demeanor, she became more curious about his relationship with Guwen. Subsequently, Guwen invited Wu Ju to sit down. Although reluctant, Wu Ju sat on the other side of Guwen, "Junior sister, this is my brother, named Wu Ju, who is also participating in the Golden Ranking Tournament," Guwen introduced. Yilan nodded towards Wu Ju. Wu Ju scratched his head and said, "I can participate in the Golden Ranking Tournament thanks to Brother Gus' post." Yilan couldn't help but look at Guwen, her eyes filled with suspicion. Senior brother's methods were quite impressive. He registered himself, but he could also get a post for someone else. Chapter 128, 3 Pure One's Mountain Divine Skills, so-called Fairness. Guwen, Yilan, and Wu Ju drank wine and ate fruit while enjoying the battles of the Golden List Tournament. In the previous days, they didn't have any matches, so they watched the excitement. Yilan and Wu Ju became familiar with each other, and Wu Ju was no longer so awkward. It wasn't until the 5th day that it was Wu Ju's turn to participate in a match. As he left, Yilan asked curiously, "Senior brother, whose disciple is he? He seems quite extraordinary." She was well-traveled and knowledgeable enough to recognize Wu Ju's remarkable nature. After multiple bouts of path enlightenment, Wu Ju's temperament had already transformed. Even with ordinary looks and attire, he exuded an unforgettable aura. His master died, and he has been an orphan since childhood. I befriended him immediately, and am his only friend. I didn't visit him for 5 years on purpose, which is why he's so angry. Guwen replied. After hearing this, Yi Lan felt a mix of pity and amusement for Wu Ju. She sighed, "Senior brother, you really are, what? Nothing." Yi Lan's gaze turned to the huge light screen in the sky, and Guwen followed her gaze. The two people fighting in the light screen were no ordinary individuals. One was a young Taoist in a green robe, and the other a man in battle armor wielding a long weapon. With one glance, Guwen could tell that both fighters' realms were higher than those before. The Taoist in green robes must be at the Divinity Transformation realm, while the man in battle armor was at the Void Crossing realm. Both were under 500 years old, making them top-notch talents. Surpassing the core formation realm couldn't be achieved by merely throwing resources at it. What was expected to be an exceptional battle ended abruptly when the green-robed Taoist raised a hand, formed a seal, and released a character radiating green light. It was a Dao character, 100 feet in both length and width, resembling a mountain, crashing into the armored man with incredible speed, causing him to cough blood and fly out, losing his combat ability directly. Even though the armored man was suppressed to the Divinity Transformation realm, losing so quickly still surprised Guwen. From his perspective, the green-robed Taoist's Daoist seal already had the essence of divine skills. Defeating his opponent in one move drew raucous reactions from the entire city. The winner is Sage Xianxia from Taicang Dynasty's Three Pure Ones Mountain. An elder's voice echoed from the light screen, ensuring everyone remembered the green-robed Taoist's name. Yi Lan sighed. Three Pure Ones Mountain is truly formidable. I've witnessed it before on the Nine Nether Road. It's Taicang Dynasty's primary sect, with few disciples, but each is powerful. It's said they once produced an Immortal, though the truth is unknown. Guwen silently noted the sect's name. Sage Xianxia's Daoist seal was indeed powerful, enough to showcase the deep-rooted foundation of Three Pure Ones Mountain's Daoist tradition. An hour later. Finally, it was Wu Ju's turn to make a move. The battles at the Foundation Establishment realm were not as exaggerated as those of Sage Xianxia, so many were not very expectant. However, once Wu Ju threw a punch, the earth-shattering momentum immediately captured everyone's attention in the city. With each punch, it was like the sun bursting forth, the scorching fist wind making it hard for his opponent to counter. Each of Wu Ju's punches was full of power, extremely domineering. After 8 punches, his opponent was beaten to their knees, continuously coughing blood. The winner is Wu Ju from Supreme Sect of Taicang Dynasty. The city erupted in discussions, starting to talk about Wu Ju. Yi Lan was stunned. She knew Wu Ju was exceptional but didn't expect him to be this formidable. Guwen watched with a smile on his face, aware that Wu Ju's legendary journey was about to begin. That sunset fist was quite ordinary, but Wu Ju practiced it to a level of transformation, even exhibiting signs of advancement. Path enlightenment seemed to enhance his understanding of fist techniques. In the afternoon, within the Third Medicine Valley, Guwen and LV Batian met in a pavilion. After months, LV Batian looked pleased and exuberant. He opened his right hand, revealing a pearl in his palm, and smiled. This is a supreme-grade magic artifact, the Thousand Shadow Pearl. In the next 2 days, refine it, and then use it at the end of the month meeting. Guwen accepted the Thousand Shadow Pearl, and smiling bitterly asked, "Do you still want me to keep winning?" In recent days, some cultivators in the Golden List tournament had won using magic artifacts. According to the rules, each cultivator could only bring one magic artifact or formation to maintain fairness. Sword cultivators, blade cultivators, array repairers, and others had to use magic artifacts. Banning them would be unfair. Even with only one magic artifact allowed, instances of cultivators winning using magic artifacts had already led to criticism in various cities. LV Batian laughed. "I've already planned your opponents and combat times. There's still time. I don't expect you to become world famous, but getting close to the top 500 would lay a solid foundation." With talents from 9 dynasties gathered, the top 500 were naturally extraordinary individuals. Guwen had intended to just have fun, but he didn't expect LV Batian to play it this way. Sect leader, fairness, fairness. Don't forget these two words. Guwen reminded helplessly. LV Batian's methods were never righteous. But then he thought again. LV Batian had always been this way, even his cultivation techniques were somewhat unorthodox. LV Batian nonchalantly said, "How is it unfair? Those descendants of noble families, which of them doesn't rely on their family resources? I'm giving you a magic artifact, and they have their elders' support. Arranging your opponents is just to give you better luck, without harming the opponents. The final outcome still depends on strength." Guwen fiddled with the 1,000 Shadow Pearl, feeling a bit hesitant. "As long as you enter the top 500, I'll reward you with a 6th Order Spirit Tree," LV Batian said sternly. Hearing this, Guwen immediately gripped the 1,000 Shadow Pearl and said, "Well, since that's the case, I can only do my best." LV Batian stood up, smiling. "All right, refine the restrictions soon. The toughest ones have already been refined by me. The remaining ones won't trouble you." After that, he left the pavilion. Guwen didn't see him off but instead stared at the 1,000 Shadow Pearl in his hand, deep in thought. The Golden List tournament continued for several months, and Guwen had to take care of Medicine Valley, so he didn't go to watch every day. Yi Lan and Wu Ju also needed to prepare for battles. Until the end of the month, Guwen finally faced his opponent. The token exchanged for the Golden List token was a magic artifact used specifically to convey messages. That morning, the Golden List token emitted a sound, instructing him to wait nearby. Each outer gate city had the transmission array for the Golden List tournament, making it easy to find. After teleporting to the venue, Guwen patiently waited. This was a vast valley, divided into two halves, one for the waiting area and the other for the combat area. The combat area spanned several miles, surrounded by formations, isolated from the outside world. "Guwen, you're participating too? Aren't you afraid of getting beaten up?" A light-hearted voice sounded. Guwen didn't need to turn around to know that Xianxia was walking toward him. Just trying," Guwen said calmly. Recently, the storyline of Supreme Secret Records had annoyed him. The Guwen in the book bullied weak girls. Although it was a misunderstanding, his actions were a bit domineering, which made him less fond of Xianxia. Xianxia seemed to understand this and didn't mind his attitude, instead laughing, "If you encounter me, I won't hold back. But if you speak nicely to me, I might just let you win." "A man of integrity, how can I allow you to insult me?" Guwen glanced at her, sneering. Xianxia chuckled, laughing out loud. She bumped Guwen with her shoulder and said, "Don't be mad, the book will end soon. I'm getting tired of it. After the Golden List tournament, I'm going into seclusion for cultivation. You might not see me for decades." Hearing this, Guwen's expression softened and he asked, "Did you gain some insight from the painting?" "Yes, I might attain enlightenment," Xianxia said proudly, smiling. "Such bragging." Guwen started chatting with Xianxia as they waited for his match. Suddenly, a woman teleported in, her aura catching Guwen's attention. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Why was she here again? Does she think there are no people in Supreme Sect? Coming and leaving as she pleases? Guwen thought to himself, though he didn't look at the Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Although the Ghost Mother wanted to make him the sect hierarch, he still felt strongly against her. There was no helping it. She had even brought a void-crossing realm 5th layer evil creature before him. If he hadn't had lifespan detection, he wouldn't have noticed the evil emperor was not dead. Too dangerous. The Ghost Mother had transformed into another woman, seemingly using possession techniques. She also didn't pay attention to Guwen, possibly not even remembering him. Half an hour later, Xianxia won her match and was teleported out of the valley. Guwen waited another hour for his turn. His opponent was weak, merely a core formation realm cultivator. Suppressed to the Foundation Establishment realm, Guwen acted through several moves before using the 1,000 Shadow Pearl to defeat him. To the spectators, the fight was quite dull, with only a few remembering Guwen. Just like that, summer passed and autumn arrived. Guwen had 3 combat matches, winning narrowly each time. By now, there were still 1,000 participants remaining. Supreme Sect didn't mind the time at all. During this period, spirit stone profits in each city doubled, making a massive profit. After 3 months of combat, a batch of geniuses had already emerged, the most illustrious being Anhao, unparalleled. He hadn't even used the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, but used spells learned from Supreme Sect to overpower all opponents. Following were LV Xian, Sage Xianmiao, and other talents from various dynasties. Every dynasty among the 9 had someone renowned in the Golden List tournament. Ji Xiaoyu hadn't participated, but other Ji family disciples performed strongly. The Golden List tournament had spread across the 9 dynasties, capturing the attention of cultivators worldwide, significantly boosting Supreme Sect's reputation among the other 8 dynasties. Within the Taicang dynasty, the sects from other 8 dynasties also became famous, probably one of the reasons for their response. For Guan, the Golden List tournament was just a diversion, not caring much about the outcome. Initially finding it entertaining, his interest waned over time, leading him to focus on cultivation. On this day, a rumor spread before the Golden List tournament. Anhao versus Liya. Liya had also showcased his strength, proving himself, considered to have top 100 potential. Facing Anhao, who was assumed to claim the top spot, naturally drew much attention. Guan, in the Third Medicine Valley, heard disciples flying overhead on their swords, shouting announcements, and became interested, heading to the Outer Gate City to watch. He noticed disciples flocking to the Outer Gate City from all directions, making him sigh. LV Baitin finally mastered the art of marketing. Guan too was expectant. Who was stronger, Liya or Anhao? Both seemed to have lives like heavenly destiny protagonists, though with different trajectories. Chapter 129. How do you also know the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword? At the combat arena, Liya, dressed in black, slowly took the North Sea heavy sword off his back. His expression was stern, his gaze fixated on the figure 100 feet away, eyes full of battle intent. His opponent was none other than Anhao. Anhao stood tall, dressed in splendid blue robes, a gold thread purple belt, his long hair coiled beneath a silver crown inlaid with a golden phoenix. He was adjusting his wrist guard, which was crafted finely. A breeze stirred the black locks at the sides of his cheeks, his smile was radiant. He raised his chin slightly, looked down on Liya, and said with a chuckle, "Previously, you relied on the weight of that sword to defeat your enemies. This time, your opponent is me, so don't think you can hide your strength." Liya asked, "And how old are you this year?" Anhao answered, 40. Why? 40 years old, at the 9th layer of core formation. Liya fell silent, just hearing that invoked jealousy. He took a deep breath, raised the North Sea heavy sword, and said, "Then let me see the prowess of the Supreme Sect's #1 genius." As his words fell, he stepped forward, and in 3 steps, he was slashing at Anhao, the heavy North Sea heavy sword raising a gust of wind. Anhao used his right hand, 2 fingers forming a sword chi emanating from his fingertips, countering Liya's sword moves. Sword lights flickered, sword chi sword, their figures intertwined, engaging in a fierce and swift battle, drawing waves of cheers from the Outer Gate City. Guan stood on the eaves, looking up at the fight. Wu Ju suddenly appeared beside him, also gazing up at the light screen. He marveled, "These two are incredible." "Of course, they are the renowned geniuses of the Supreme Sect." Guan replied. Both Anhao and Liya were in the core formation realm, but the battle they demonstrated was far more exciting than other core formation geniuses' battles. Liya's force was huge and powerful, like he could split mountains and rivers. Anhao was light and graceful, facing Liya's sword moves with great ease. Their movements were extremely fast. Most of the disciples in the Outer Gates City couldn't keep up. They kept maneuvering. Only the sword light could mark their positions. Clang. Anhao flipped and swung his arm, the sword chi on his fingers pressing down on Liya's legs, the North Sea heavy sword shaking above his head, showing Anhao's immense chi. Liya didn't expect Anhao to match his strength, even though he had consumed the dragon image divine primordial, increasing his pressure. Boom! A terrifying sword intent burst out, sending Anhao flying. He flipped in the air and landed steadily 100 feet away. And Hao looked at Li Ya in astonishment, then followed with a wild smile. The battle light screen transmitted part of the battle pressure, allowing the spectators to know the fight was real. Once Li Ya's sword intent was released, the entire Supreme Sect was thrilled. This is the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Li Ya has received the inheritance of Sword Venerable Fudao? I've stayed at the Heavenly Repair platform for days. This is definitely the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Li Ya is so powerful, I didn't expect the strongest among the royal disciples to be him. He's much stronger than his sister Li Xuanyu. The city Guan was also erupted in a thunderous uproar. Countless people were amazed by the Taicang Divine shocking sword unleashed by Li Ya. Wu Ju felt the sword intent and sighed, so powerful, I feel like it won't be easy to win against him. Guan glanced at him. Just not easy? Entwined in the sword intent, Li Ya straightened, raising his sword to point at Hao, his black hair fluttering and black robes rustling. His entire demeanor changed dramatically, his expression became more severe. The battle only truly begins now. Li Ya said coldly he didn't expect to be forced to use the Taicang Divine shocking sword so early, blaming his own bad luck for encountering Hao prematurely. When he unleashed the Taicang Divine shocking sword, he felt the battle was over. Although Hao had yet to unleash powerful spells, no spell could match the Taicang Divine shocking sword. Hao's comprehension of sword intent was kept secret. Li Ya, who was often away, had no clue about Hao's combat techniques. However, seeing Hao smiling, Li Ya felt puzzled. This guy's gone mad? Hao patted his robe, his smile growing. Boom! An overwhelming sword intent surpassed Li Ya's, shaking the entire valley. Violent sword chi condensed into a giant face above Hao, looking down at Li Ya. Before this giant sword chi face, Li Ya looked insignificant, his sword chi trivial. Impossible! How do you also know the Taicang Divine shocking sword? Li Ya shouted in disbelief. In the outer gate city, countless people gasped. Even Hao had received the inheritance of Sword Venerable Fudao. The ghost mother of ephemera on the Heavenly Repair platform looked at the light screen in the sky, her brows furrowed, her eyes also showing shock. The Taicang Divine shocking sword, which had disappeared for thousands of years, reappeared in the mortal world, and 3 inheritors emerged at once? The ghost mother of ephemera, well aware of the Taicang Divine shocking sword's origins, was also taken aback, her respect for Sword Venerable Fudao growing. She could tell these two, wielding the Taicang Divine shocking sword, were certainly related to Sword Venerable Fudao. In the light screen, Hao soared into the air, looking down on Li Ya, said with a smile, "Since we are from the same lineage, let's see whose sword intent is stronger." He raised his right hand, palm facing Li Ya, his smile fading. When Li Ya used the Taicang Divine shocking sword, Hao felt a sense of kinship, recognizing Li Ya as a fellow disciple. But even among brothers, he would not hold back. Hao was born to be the strongest. All opponents must submit at his feet. Hao's eyes focused, the giant sword chi face's eyes widened, countless sword shadows shot out like a river of stars, unstoppable. Li Ya gripped his sword with both hands, slashing down with his strongest sword move. He gritted his teeth, his face twisted, and shouted in his heart, "I cannot lose." The two sword intents collided, sword light enveloping the whole city. Wu Ju's face was lit up by the sword light, he was stunned. Hao is so strong, I'm not a match, Wu Ju murmured. If his opponent was Li Ya, he might have some confidence, but Hao's strength left him feeling hopeless. Guan watched the battle with a blank expression. The progress of Hao and Li Ya pleased him, but knowing Li Ya would soon be seriously injured dampened his mood. He even suspected LV Baiyan purposely orchestrated this, as LV Baiyan always disliked Li Xiandao, so he arranged for Hao to target Li Zuando's favorite son? Regardless, Li Ya's journey ended here, not even breaking the top 500. After a few breaths, the sword's power dissipated. The ground shattered, Li Ya lay there covered in blood, his black robes torn apart, no strength left to stand up. The winner is Hao from the Taicang dynasty's supreme sect. As the elder announced the result, the entire city burst with excitement, praising Enhao's might. Previously, Enhao had never displayed such powerful sword techniques but always defeated his enemies with ease. This time, everyone witnessed Enhao's sword chi and spiritual power, looking nothing like a core formation cultivator, more like a nascent soul cultivator. Guwen looked at Wu Ju and said, "If you face Enhao, do not confront him head-on. In the same realm, anyone facing Enhao would be eliminated. Even multiple path enlightenments couldn't help Wu Ju against him. Among all the participants, likely only Guwen could defeat Enhao, but he had no intention to, and LV Baiyin wouldn't allow it to happen." "You too," Wu Ju muttered. Guwen smiled. This kid was interesting. The news of Enhao receiving the inheritance of Sword Venerable Fudao spread like a whirlwind, sweeping across the immortal cultivation world. As for the defeated Li Ya, many thought he only comprehended the sword intent at the heavenly repair platform, and was not the true inheritor of Sword Venerable Fudao. Though both wielded the Taicang Divine shocking sword, his sword intent paled compared to Enhao's. Enhao's famed sword, while Li Ya was quickly forgotten. After his defeat, Li Ya did not seek out Guwen, likely recuperating and brooding in his cave. 10 days later, in Tianya Valley, Guwen met Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao waved at him from afar, and he immediately sat down beside him. LV Xian, Yi Luyun, and Luo Hun were also seated at the table. As Guwen approached, Luo Hun thoughtfully gave up his seat. "How is Li Ya?" Li Xiandao asked with a smile, seemingly unconcerned about Li Ya's defeat. Guwen noticed his cultivation level had increased to the 3rd layer of Void Crossing Realm. Honestly, Guwen was quite interested to see Li Xiandao participate in the Golden List Conference. He believed Li Xiandao could make it to the top 10. Li Xiandao was not yet 300 years old, qualifying for the Golden List Conference. A Void Crossing Realm cultivator under 300 years was a rare talent worldwide. "Not sure, he didn't come to find me," Guwen replied. Li Xiandao sighed. "Losing to Enhao is not shameful. Enhao's fame has spread to the other 8 dynasties. Everyone recognizes his talent." Setting aside strength, just by his advancement speed, Enhao was unmatched. Jiang Qiong had reached the core formation at 40, thinking her talent supreme, but at 40, Enhao could already form his nascent soul. The only reason he hadn't was because of the Golden List Conference. A 1st-layer nascent soul Enhao facing a 9th-layer nascent soul top talent might win but would be exhausted, but dragging the opponent down to the 9th layer of core formation realm eliminated any suspense. Guwen nodded. "Enhao is truly formidable. Senior brother Li just had bad luck." LV Xian snorted. "No worries, I'll avenge Li Ya." He had participated in 3 fights, no one had lasted 10 moves against him. Li Xiandao looked at Guwen and said, "I've sent your disciple Yi Yan to cultivate at the 3 Pure Ones mountain of the Chuntang dynasty. When he returns, he'll be transformed." "Yi Yan?" Guwen thought of the disciple who held a spear all day, not expecting such an opportunity for him. Of course, he understood Li Xiandao was giving him a hint. Without his arrangement, Yi Yan would never have such a chance. "Thank you, uncle," Guwen said immediately. Li Xiandao then said, "Do you think if I could enlist Sword Venerable Fudao, I could secure the throne?" Guwen replied, "Without him, you can also secure it." Li Xiandao laughed. Yi Luyun and LV Xian didn't laugh, they agreed. Li Xiandao restrained his laugh and said, "I've found out who Sword Venerable Fudao is." Chapter 130 Breakthrough, Midnight Battle, Who is it? It was not Guwen who asked, but LV Xian. Yi Luyun also looked at Li Xiandao with curiosity. Sword Venerable Fudao's reputation was too great, and some even considered him the #1 cultivator of the Taicang dynasty. Li Zuando's mouth curved up as he said, "He has a close relationship with Li Ya." Upon hearing this, Guwen's heart trembled. How did he guess this far? LV Xian frowned tightly and asked, "Li Ya? What kind of relationship?" Li Xiandao shook his head and said, "I cannot divulge the specifics, lest we offend the elder." "Elder?" Guwen let out a sigh of relief. Then, Li Xiandao began to discuss other talents who gained fame at the Golden List Grand Assembly. He highly praised the Supreme Sect for hosting the assembly, thinking that LV Baitin had become enlightened and was no longer as foolish and domineering as before. They chatted for an ancient hour before Li Xiandao finally released Guan to work. This time he had brought high-rank saplings, which greatly interested Guan. The grade and rank of the medicinal herbs in Tianya Valley were continuously improving, indirectly proving that Li Zuando's power was growing. Though the herbs in Tianya Valley belonged to Li Xiandao, Guan could harvest an endless stream of lifespan from them, so he hoped for Li Zuando's continual success. Yes, and also wished LV Baitin well so everyone could get along harmoniously. In Immortal Cultivation, temporary victories and defeats did not matter. The real winner was the one who lived the longest. In late autumn, Guan narrowly made it into the top 500 of the Golden List Grand Assembly with the help of the 1,000 Shadow Pearl. For the upcoming matches, he was prepared to lose. Although he repeatedly achieved victories, Guan did not build a reputation due to the difficulty of his wins, the unattractiveness of the battles, and the anonymity of his opponents. At noon in Mystic Valley, Guan was instructing Yi Lan in the primordial reincarnation skill. Yi Lan had already been eliminated but was not disheartened and was instead more determined. The two of them conversed for several ancient hours, during which Yi Lan's many questions about the primordial reincarnation skill were resolved. Senior brother, your achievement in this skill is really high. It seems you have been secretly practicing it diligently. No wonder your cultivation level hasn't increased, Yi Lan remarked with admiration. In her heart, she grew even more respectful of Sword Venerable Fu Dao, who was not only formidable in Sword Dao but also mastered such a miraculous skill. She now believed for sure that Sword Venerable Fu Dao was Guan's mentor, as Guan had taken the Qinghong sword to find Sword Venerable Fu Dao to save her. She had once suspected that Guan himself was Sword Venerable Fu Dao, but the cultivation realm displayed by Sword Venerable Fu Dao was too high, and Guan's age did not match. Guan did not refute, as this explanation was perfect. He raised his right hand and conjured over a storage bag, handing it to Yi Lan. Take this back and train well. Yi Lan did not check the contents and instead fastened the storage bag to her belt, then stood up. By the way, senior brother, keep your distance from senior brother Li Ye for a while. The upper echelon is currently investigating all disciples of the Li family within the sect, with unclear intentions but undoubtedly no good purpose. Guan looked puzzled but nodded as he rose to see his junior sister off. The investigation of the Li family disciples within the Supreme Sect did not concern Guan much, as this was not the first time such a thing had happened. Though the Supreme Sect was the leading righteous sect of the Taicang Dynasty, internal strife was never-ending. As for whether it would harm Li Ye, Guan had no means to worry over that. He couldn't possibly keep an eye on Li Ye at all times. Everyone has their own life, and no matter how good or bad, as long as they get through it, it belongs to their own experiences. A few days later, Guan went to participate in the Golden List Grand Assembly. Against his opponent, he directly conceded, stunning his opponent. A month later, the top 100 emerged. Only Wu Ju had the cultivation level of the Foundation Establishment realm. All other cultivators' minimum level was the Core Formation realm. This news quickly spread, making Wu Ju famous. When LV Baitin delivered a 6th-rank spirit tree, Guan mentioned Wu Ju, hoping LV Baitin could find a good mentor for Wu Ju. This made LV Baitin look at Guan with admiration. Such a good prospect found by you in advance, and you still say you are unfit to be the sect leader? LV Baitin said with a smile. Guan smiled and responded, just a stroke of fate. The Supreme Sect has many geniuses. This doesn't speak to my vision, but to the abundant foundations and great fortune of the Supreme Sect. LV Baitin was very satisfied with Guan's rhetoric. Regardless of whether it was genuine, it was very suitable for a sect leader. Regarding Wu Ju, I can't promise anything. He has already become a disciple of Zhou Yu. Understand that taking in Hao as a disciple was already a major move that met with opposition. I cannot take on any more genius disciples. The Supreme Sect is not a place for one person's dictation, LV Baitin explained meaningfully. Zhou Yu, one of the Supreme Sect's venerable pavilion, had more power than the Hall of Elders. Becoming his disciple meant Wu Ju had a limitless future. Gu and then thought of that true inheritor disciple, who was not in a mentor-disciple relationship with LV Baitin, effectively counterbalancing him. It seemed that in the Supreme Sect, even accepting disciples involved a consideration of interests. Of course, the main reason was that LV Baitin was not strong enough, at least not to the extent where he could suppress the three great families single-handedly. I plan to take action against the Li family, but rest assured, I won't harm Li Ya, LV Baitin continued. Hearing this, Guwen immediately raised his hand to salute him. LV Baitin waved his hand. After the Golden List Grand Assembly, the Supreme Sect will soar. However, potential crises remain, not to mention the Ephemera Sect main lineage on the other end of the Nine Nether Road. There are also those within the Nine Dynasties looking to scheme against the Supreme Sect. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I will visit your Medicine Valley less often. Do not indulge any further. Practice diligently, understand? He felt somewhat helpless as he spoke these last words. He had already passed on the Defying Fate Divine skill to Guwen but saw no significant results. Guwen nodded and said, I will manage Medicine Valley well and not disappoint the Supreme Sect. Hearing this, LV Baitin gave him a final glare before rising to leave. Guwen hurried to see him off. Heavy snow had already blanketed the third Medicine Valley, and the flying snow threatened to engulf everything. LV Baitin's figure soon vanished into the vast snow. Time flew by. Another Chinese New Year arrived, and the Golden List Grand Assembly concluded the day before Chinese New Year. In the evening, Guwen went to Mystic Valley to spend the festival with the disciples. Zhen Qin had just returned from the Outer Sect and was discussing the Golden List Grand Assembly rankings with the disciples. After the assembly, the Supreme Sect would publish a book recording the life stories of the top 100, symbolizing authority in a way. Winning first place was in Hao, without any suspense. The second place was not LV Xian but Sage Xian Miao from Three Pure Ones Mountain. The duel between Sage Xian Miao and Hao had become legendary, and the name of Three Pure Ones Mountain reverberated throughout the Taicang Dynasty. LV Xian ranked third and was likely depressed. The rest were mostly aristocratic geniuses, with the Zhou, Gu, and Ji families occupying 30% of the top 100. The dominance of the three great families was evident. Wu Ju, with his foundation establishment realm, made it into the top 20 but was severely defeated by Hao when they met, although he had proven himself and became a bona fide genius. Sitting down, Guwen listened to the disciples excitedly discuss the Golden List Grand Assembly, showing an interested look. The disciples also flattered him, feeling honored that he made it into the top 500. Master, I have to go out on a mission tomorrow. It might take 2 or 3 years before I return. Zhen Qin, sitting beside Guwen, spoke while Guwen's thoughts drifted away. The high-rank medicinal herbs in the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion should be ripening. 7 days after the Chinese New Year, Guwen went to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion that night. After harvesting the ripened medicinal herbs and gaining nearly 20,000 years of lifespan, he began sowing seeds again. After years of management, the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion was filled with medicinal herbs, all of at least 4th rank. They were now continuously providing him with lifespan. With the current medicine valleys alone, Guwen saw the gate to a lifespan of millions of years approaching. He had already started pondering about breakthroughs. Reaching the Mahayana realm almost drained the spiritual energy of the North Sea Mountain, so the next breakthrough must be in a place with more spiritual energy. For the next breakthrough, Guwen needed at least 5 million years worth of lifespan. He was eager to see what realm he could reach. After sowing, Guwen sat at the stone table, poured himself some tea, and enjoyed his leisure time while spreading his divine sense to observe the North Sea Mountain's activities. The North Sea Mountain was an excellent training ground for cultivators. With the initiation of the Golden List Grand Assembly, the passage of various sects cultivators through the area had intensified the conflicts there. Guwen suddenly noticed a battle, with one participant catching his attention. Sage Xian Miao from Three Pure Ones Mountain. This genius who outperformed LV Xian left a deep impression on Guwen. At this moment, several dozen cultivators were besieging Sage Xian Miao. Under the night sky, the wind raged, and various spells fell endlessly, ravaging the land and forests. Sage Xianxia held a sword in his right hand and a horsetail whisk in his left. Behind him, a Dharma aspect with 3 heads and 6 arms materialized. Despite being surrounded by several divinity transformation realm cultivators, he remained unfazed. This 3-headed, 6-armed Dharma aspect contains spiritual power far exceeding that of Sage Xianxia, and its 6 arms could cast different spells. An impressive divine skill. Guwen sipped his tea while appreciating the battle. Those dozens of cultivators were no match for Sage Xianxia, but a void-crossing realm great cultivator was lurking in the shadows, making Sage Xianxia's situation dire. Guwen had no intention of intervening, as he had no interest in others' grudges and feuds. Even if Sage Xianxia died there, it would only show that his chi fortune was insufficient. Guwen saved only those connected to him. 30 minutes later, the hidden void-crossing realm great cultivator made a move, launching a sneak attack that shattered Sage Xianxia's Dharma aspect, causing him to vomit blood and be flung into the forest. Seeing this, the injured divinity transformation realm cultivators heaved sighs of relief and then praised the void-crossing realm great cultivator. Just as Guwen thought Sage Xianxia was doomed, he sensed something and raised an eyebrow. In the forest where Sage Xianxia had fallen, a strong wind arose, uprooting trees and sending them into the night sky. Sage Xianxia sat in the ruins, surrounded by azure runes. These runes emitted beams of azure light, which gathered above him to form a grand door. The door slowly opened, releasing a desolate aura that caused the void-crossing realm great cultivator's face to change drastically as he turned to flee. "Where are you running?" An ancient voice echoed across the heavens and earth. Chapter 131. Can Sword Venerable Fudao withstand Mahayana power? Along with the mysterious voice echoing between heaven and earth, the azure door boomed open, and a giant hand stretched out, grabbing the escaping great cultivator of the void-crossing realm from a distance. The great cultivator of the void-crossing realm was almost scared to death. He struggled desperately but could not break free. He even tried to let his primordial spirit emerge from his body but found in despair that his primordial spirit couldn't leave. Who are you?" The great cultivator of the void-crossing realm shouted in fear. The mysterious giant hand suddenly squeezed, crushing him into a mist of blood. His primordial spirit and golden core were completely annihilated, no longer existing. The other cultivators in the divinity transformation realm fled in panic, but the mysterious giant hand did not strike again and just slowly withdrew into the azure door. Under the night sky, the wind was still raging. Sage Xianxia's aura began to dissipate, and the azure door above his head vanished along with it. Sage Xianxia spat out a mouthful of reversed blood, and his entire state rapidly became lethargic. He continued to cultivate energy to regulate his breath. Far away in the mystic heaven cave mansion, Guwen played with his teacup, his face showing a look of curiosity. The mysterious giant hand just now was definitely of the mystic heart realm and above the 5th layer. No wonder Sage Xianxia dared to come alone to the Golden List conference. He had a method to summon help. Guwen was very interested in this divine skill. This divine skill was not only imposing but also protected the younger generation. Even he, this sword venerable Fudao, was tempted. At the same time, he was also full of curiosity about the 3 Pure Ones Mountain. The 3 Pure Ones Mountain actually hid a great power above the 5th layer of the mystic heart realm. Although it was not in the Mahayana realm, it was enough to surprise Guwen. The land of the 9 dynasties certainly hid countless talents. No wonder the ephemera sect previously only dared to wreak havoc in the Taicang dynasty instead of sweeping across the 9 dynasties directly. Guwen heard from Yilan that the disciple count of the 3 Pure Ones Mountain was not high, barely over 1,000 people, yet such a small number was enough to make it the first sect of the Chuntang dynasty, which showed how many great cultivators were in the 3 Pure Ones Mountain. The Chuntang dynasty was also not simple. The dynasty was named Chuntang because the previous Tiantang dynasty once nearly unified the land of the 9 dynasties. Later, the emperor committed deeds that enraged both heaven and humans, causing heaven to send down a great rain that flooded the entire dynasty, leading to a power shift within the dynasty. The Chintang dynasty had the most lakes, and the majority of its cities and sects were on islands. Although the great rain drowned an entire dynasty, it also caused the spiritual energy of the Chintang dynasty to surge, being shrouded in spirit mist all year round. Among the 9 dynasties, the Chintang dynasty was the most mysterious and had the most legends. Many people believed that immortals were hidden among the islands of the Chintang dynasty. Guwen retracted his gaze. Although he was very interested in sage Xianxia's divine skill, he was too lazy to make acquaintances or stir up trouble. Only being superior to the opponent by one major realm prevented Guwen from being complacent. Be cautious in development, don't be reckless. 1,000 years later, how many levels above the 9 dynasties would he be? He was looking forward to it. Dark clouds covered the sky. On the ground, mountains undulated, and each piece of forest seemed like a gathering of demons and ghosts. A gigantic palace nestled between 2 mountains, with red pillars and bloody eaves, appeared so terrifying. Inside the grand hall, a group of black-robed individuals knelt on the ground. Some were humans, some demons, and some soul bodies. The man kneeling at the front wore a mask, making it impossible to see his true face. He said, "Sect Hierarch, the combined forces of the 9 dynasties have entered the 9 Nether Road, affecting our grand plan. Should we retreat, or continue to lie low?" His voice was hoarse, and as he spoke, ghostly air exuded from under his mask. On the steps in front of him stood a burly figure draped in a large black robe, with a blood dragon coiled on the robe, baring its fangs and claws, as if ready to leap out at any moment. His white hair gently swayed, and he wore a crown of bones, with 2 slender, extremely sharp horns that glinted coldly atop it. He was the sect hierarch of the main lineage of the Ephemera sect, named Butcher Immortal Jing. Butcher Immortal Jing slowly turned around, revealing a pale and indifferent face. His pupils were blood red, and there were 2 evil ghosts marked on his forehead. The 2 evil ghosts shared one body, which was pitch black and had sharp claws, making people shiver. The 9 dynasties, laughable. They actually dare to step into the 9 Nether Road. They are courting death. Butcher Immortal Jing said coldly, a gust of cold wind blowing into the hall, causing the robes of all the followers to flutter. A black-robed follower with a white tiger head spoke, "Each of the 9 dynasties has great cultivators in the mystic heart realm, and the supreme sect's sword Venerable Fudao is even more unfathomable. It's unlikely we can annex the 9 dynasties before the demon catastrophe." Another soul body in black robes followed up. "Our sect's golden spirit Venerable and night cultivator Fairy both died at the hands of sword Venerable Fudao. He is the biggest obstacle to our annexation of the 9 dynasties. His cultivation is at least above the 5th layer of the mystic heart realm, and it's very likely he has reached the 8th floor." Rumble. The deep sound of thunder came from outside the hall, as if some fierce beast was roaring. "Humph, mystic heart realm 8th floor? Then tell me, can sword Venerable Fudao withstand the Mahayana power?" Butcher Immortal Jing said contemptuously, his white hair fluttering, and the blood light in his eyes flashed fiercely. "Mahayana power?" The masked man at the front responded, "There has been no Mahayana heavenly tribulation in the land of the 9 dynasties for nearly 10,000 years. Naturally, he is not your opponent. But if you take action, will it affect your healing? Who asked you all to be so incompetent? Prepare to gather the followers. Once they are assembled, follow me to sweep across the land of the 9 dynasties, and remember to bring the origin tree of ephemera." Butcher Immortal Jing said expressionlessly. These words caused an uproar in the hall. "Sect Hierarch, you wouldn't intend to directly," the masked man's hoarse voice revealed a nervous emotion. "My decision is made, you may leave." Butcher Immortal Jing waved his sleeve and walked into the darkness. The followers of the ephemera sect in the hall looked at each other. It was another night. Guwen once again arrived at the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. It had already been half a month since his last visit. He first picked medicinal herbs, then planted seeds. After doing all this, as usual, he didn't leave in a hurry but planned to stay alone here for half the night, enjoying the tranquility. He walked to the old tree next to the wooden house and jumped onto the hammock he wove half a month ago. He twisted his body and chose a comfortable position to lie down. Comfortable, Guwen revealed a satisfied smile, took out a travelogue and started browsing. Recently, he had gone to the inner sect and bought many travelogues, one to pass the time, and two to see if there were any places better suited for breakthroughs than the North Sea Mountain. The cave mansion was quiet, and from time to time, fish sprang out of the underground lake, with their movements echoing in the cave mansion, creating a unique atmosphere. He read until the latter half of the night before putting the travelogue down and spreading out his divine sense to see if there was any movement in the North Sea Mountain tonight. Every time he came, he would overlook the North Sea Mountain, which had become a habit. Soon, Guwen was attracted by Sage Xianxia. This guy still hadn't left. He saw Sage Xianxia building a simple monastery in a deep mountain, inside which, besides Sage Xianxia, there was also a young boy. What was he doing? Guwen looked carefully and saw Sage Xianxia meditating in front of a large cauldron, with wisps of green smoke rising from the top of his head. And that boy was practicing in the nearby hut. The boy was actually a demon, with a fox tail growing. Interesting. Guwen watched for a while and then retracted his gaze. When dawn was about to break, Guwen returned to Mystic Valley. In the blink of an eye, half a year quickly passed. At the end of summer, after a heavy rain, Mystic Valley was very muggy. On this morning, Leah came to visit Guwen, once again entering through the window. Guwen had to cooperate with him to pretend to be startled. Look at your timid look. You are at least in the top 500 on the golden list. Leah snorted softly after landing. Guwen got up to greet him and said, "My being in the top 500 was just luck. You could have made it into the top 10, but unfortunately, you met in Hao in advance." Upon hearing this, Li Ya's mouth twitched. He suspected Guwen was deliberately pricking him, but seeing Guwen's expression of regret, it was hard to retort. Little did he know, Guwen did it on purpose. He stepped on my windowsill again. Leah walked to the desk, pulled out a chair, and sat down. He said, "I am leaving." "Where to? How long?" Guwen asked casually, then walked to the tea set and started brewing tea. Leah replied, "Father Emperor wants me to go to 3 Pure Ones Mountain in the Taicang Dynasty for training. It will probably take decades to return." Again, the 3 Pure Ones Mountain. What kind of close relationship did Li Xiandao have with 3 Pure Ones Mountain? They even sent 2 people. Guwen couldn't help but say, "Then it's definitely worth going after all." The disciple of the 3 Pure Ones Mountain earned the 2nd place on the golden list. Sage Xianxia is indeed formidable. Even if I fought him, I might not be his match. Leah agreed. In the golden list conference, Sage Xianxia was the only one who could withstand a 30-minute fight against an Hao. Guwen came to the desk with the brewed tea and said, "When you go to 3 Pure Ones Mountain, you must practice diligently. Don't meddle in too many affairs and end up injured." Cough, cough. Apart from being injured by an Hao, I really haven't been injured over the years. Really? Would I lie to you? The two began to chat casually, sometimes talking about Mystic Valley, sometimes about the golden list. It wasn't until noon that Leah stood up and said, "I should be leaving. Junior brother Gu, I hope that when I come back, your cultivation will improve. Entering the top 500 on the golden list is not just luck. I believe you already have your own opportunities, but don't waste the years and strive to catch up with senior brother me as soon as possible." After saying that, Leah quickly walked to the window, jumped out, and left another footprint on the windowsill. Definitely on purpose. Guwen was helpless. Leah usually seemed very serious. Why did he always play childish tricks on him? He looked out the window, his eyes becoming profound. Li Xiandao sending Li Ya away at this time, could there be other reasons? And the soul body within Li Ya, why had it become so weak? It seemed like it could dissipate at any moment. Guwen shook his head, unable to figure it out. He decided not to bother thinking about it. Until nightfall. Guwen once again arrived at the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. As he was about to pick medicinal herbs, he couldn't help but frown. Why was Sage Xianmiao around? The monastery of Sage Xianmiao was 8,000 miles away from here. Coming here could not be a coincidence. At the same time, in the forest 10 miles away, Sage Xianmiao held a compass in his hand, advancing while muttering to himself, "It should be around here. I don't know what kind of blessing it is." Chapter 132 Mountain God, Ill-fated relationship. Guan heard Sage Xianmiao's muttering, which left him silent. Did he come seeking fortune and find my home? His gaze fell on the compass in Sage Xianmiao's hand, curious about what kind of treasure could locate fortune, far surpassing his white spirit rat. Since the appearance of the mystic pure tree, the white spirit rat had been napping all day, no longer venturing out to search for treasures, essentially becoming useless. The forest in the deep night was eerie and quiet, with a faint mist swirling among the woods. Although Sage Xianmiao could see the shadows of ghosts drifting by, he remained unmoved. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew from the front, causing Sage Xianmiao's robes to flutter, making him squint. The land of the mountain god, mortals are forbidden to enter. A mysterious and ethereal voice emerged, causing Sage Xianmiao to halt his steps. He looked around, unable to detect the speaker's presence, not even with his divine sense. Sage Xianmiao was certain he hadn't misheard, so he cupped his hands and said, "This humble Taoist hails from Three Pure Ones Mountain of the Taicang dynasty, a sole disciple of the Taicang lineage, Li Xuanmiao." Li Xuanmiao, Li Xiandao, Guan wouldn't believe they were unrelated even if beaten to death. The name, Three Pure Ones, also made Guan think of the Three Pure Ones in Wuxia's Taoist myths from his previous life, wondering if there was any connection. It should be unrelated, otherwise, writing Investiture of the Gods would have already caused trouble. Perhaps the Tao of the Three Pure Ones illuminates myriad heavens, showing signs of Three Pure Ones in both this world and the Wuxia world? Guan's thoughts raced, not answering immediately. Sage Xianmiao continued, "This humble Taoist seeks fortune, wondering if I might have the honor of meeting the mountain god?" He didn't seem to doubt Guan's words, making Guan ponder. Could mountain gods truly exist, making Sage Xianmiao find it unsurprising? This made Guan suddenly want to get to know Sage Xianmiao, to increase his understanding of this world. Why seek the mountain god? Guan's voice echoed again, its source still elusive. Sage Xianmiao replied, "Mortal immortals and gods are elusive. If I could meet one, it would be life's fortune." Of course, this humble Taoist also has a personal desire. Meeting the mountain god pleased him greatly, more meaningful than finding a treasure. With his cultivation at the divinity transformation stage, he scanned all directions, unable to find the other party, indicating their cultivation level was vastly superior, whether or not they were a mountain god. The fact that the other party didn't attack him directly suggested they weren't a great evildoer. Whether a mountain god or not, they were worth befriending. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew in his face, stirring up fallen leaves, forcing Sage Xianmiao to raise his hand to shield himself. When the wind passed, Sage Xianmiao looked ahead, his pupils suddenly narrowing, face full of astonishment. Following his gaze, there stood a small white-clad figure on a large tree in front. That's right, a small figure, only 3 inches high, easily held with one hand. This figure wore white clothes and a theatrical mask, looking extremely mysterious. This white-clad figure was Guan, who used the Great and Minor Rui divine power to shrink himself. Great and Minor Rui was a divine power awakened through the primordial Rui skill. His energy-concealing skill evolved from the energy-nurturing skill. Sage Xianmiao immediately knelt on one knee, raising his hand in salute, saying, "Li Xuanmiao pays respects to the mountain god." He could feel this wasn't an illusion. It was his first time seeing such a small person, making him instantly believe the other was a mountain god. After all, he had never seen either spell or divine power that could shrink a person, only spells that drew people into small spaces. Guan leaped on the branches, reaching the branch's end to overlook Sage Xianmiao, asking, "What is the treasure in your hand?" He cast a life span detection. Sage Xianmiao, Divinity Transformation Stage 5th Level 198/900/4500, 4,500 years as his maximum lifespan? A bit inconsistent with his performance. The legacy of 3 Pure Ones Mountain seemed strong. Sage Xianxia hurriedly replied, "This is a treasured family heirloom of my 3 Pure Ones Mountain passed down through generations. As long as I carry it, once my chi fortune connects with the treasure, it will guide me to my destined fortune, accelerating my growth process." As he said this, he smiled. Destiny led him to meet the mountain god. Guwen wondered if Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion rightfully belonged to Sage Xianxia. Very likely so. If not for his golden finger akin to a system, he wouldn't have come to the North Sea Mountains to undergo tribulation, nor would he have cracked open Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. Thus, it wouldn't naturally belong to him. Thinking this way, it seemed Guwen had taken Sage Xianxia's opportunity. Sage Xianxia continued, "Senior Mountain God, I just accepted a disciple, but he is poisoned. I can't cure him. Could you take a look?" He was initially seeking fortune but hadn't expected to encounter a mountain god. Since gods existed, they should help alleviate his worries. Guwen remained silent, left hand touching his chin, right hand holding his left elbow, swaying contemplatively as he looked at Sage Xianxia. Sage Xianxia understood, his right hand flipping to reveal a lingji in his palm, which he offered with both hands, saying, "This is a 6th grade earth spirit lingji, hoping the mountain god likes it." Guwen lifted a hand to capture the lingji in his grasp. This earth spirit lingji was larger than his entire body, making him look quite comical as he held it. Sage Xianxia didn't find it amusing. Rather, he found it endearing. The behavior and thoughts of immortals and gods shouldn't be speculated or defined by mortals. "Bring your disciple here at this time tomorrow night," Guwen said. Sage Xianxia immediately expressed his gratitude. When he raised his hand again, Guwen had already vanished. He smiled, getting up to leave without pressing forward, which made Guwen feel satisfied. At the very least, Sage Xianxia didn't seem like a deeply scheming or overly calculative person. When Guwen had previously inspected Sage Xianxia, he had seen his demonic disciple and identified the type of poison in him. Fortunately, he could cure it. Once Sage Xianxia was far away, Guwen returned to the 8 scenic caves to begin alchemy. He took out the ephemeral flower he had kept for a long time, placed it into the pill furnace, and then conjured Taicang True Fire to ignite the dry firewood under the furnace. Suddenly, a thought struck him. Could the alchemy technique of Mystic Valley also be derived from 3 Pure Ones Mountain, capable of producing Taicang True Fire? Quite possible. The next night, Sage Xianxia brought his disciple to the same misty forest. The fox demon boy was very nervous, clinging to Sage Xianxia, eyes constantly scanning the surroundings, fearing evil spirits would appear. Sage Xianxia raised his robe hem and knelt, making the fox demon boy kneel as well. After kneeling for a while, a gust of wind blew. A thumb-sized pill rolled to Sage Xianxia's knees. He couldn't help but pick it up. "Let your disciple take it." Gu's voice floated by, and Sage Xianxia, without hesitation, had the fox demon boy swallow it. The pill melted instantly in the mouth. Sage Xianxia held the fox demon boy's wrist to carefully sense, soon showing a delighted expression. He looked up and asked, "May I ask, Mountain God, what poison afflicted my disciple?" "The poison of the ephemeral flower." He must have visited the ephemeral flower's habitat and inadvertently ingested it, Guwen replied from a tree branch. The fox demon boy stared wide-eyed at the tiny mountain god. Upon hearing this, Sage Xianxia's face darkened, gritting his teeth. "The ephemera sect has brought harm for millennia, its sins unforgivable." Guwen squatted on the branch, observing them, and said, "Your disciple is saved. You should leave now. Remember, do not reveal my existence to anyone, or I will come for you." Sage Xianxia raised his head, saying, "Mountain God, could you teach me the ultimate skill to become the world's strongest? I am willing to exchange everything I have." Being defeated by an Hao had become his deep-seated issue. It was also why he hadn't returned, unable to face his peers. World's strongest. If you could become the world's strongest, you wouldn't seek me. Since you can't become the world's strongest, your everything couldn't match its value, Gu Wen said indifferently. Sage Xianxia looked troubled, but hope ignited in his heart. The mountain god hadn't refused him. He had only intended to probe, not expecting a real chance. Indeed, no disciple of Three Pure Ones Mountain had ever encountered a land immortal. It showed how rare immortals and gods were. Sage Xianxia said earnestly, "Please enlighten me, mountain god. As long as it's within my power and doesn't violate the principles of Three Pure Ones Mountain, I will definitely comply." Gu Wen feigned deep contemplation, arms crossed, and after a while, he suddenly said, "I have it. The divine skill you used to summon Mystic Heart Realm cultivators before, exchange it with me." Sage Xianxia's face changed dramatically. His respect for the mountain god deepened. The mountain god could discern even his backer's realm, demonstrating the mountain god's high Dao level. And the battle had taken place far from here. Sage Xianxia hurriedly said, "This divine skill is called Divine Reaching Mystic Gate. It can only summon others and won't harm beings. I'm willing to exchange it with you, mountain god." As he spoke, he took out a scroll from his sleeve, raising it with both hands. Gu Wen lifted a hand, capturing the scroll. After a brief scan with his divine sense, confirming its authenticity, he waved his right hand. A book swiftly landed before Sage Xianxia. The 9 Extremes Yin-Yang Body. Sage Xianxia's eyes lit up on seeing those 5 words. Gu Wen would eventually cultivate the 9 Extremes Yin-Yang Body, so he didn't mind teaching it. Moreover, this technique originated from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. He wanted to see how many years it would take Sage Xianxia, with his talent, to master the 9 Extremes Yin-Yang Body. Sage Xianxia picked up the secret book, began reading, while Gu Wen wasn't in a hurry, putting away the Divine Reaching Mystic Gate scroll into his storage bag. After reading for a while, Sage Xianxia's hands trembled. He suddenly closed the book, tucked it away, and then took out wooden boxes from his storage ring, a total of 7. He said, "This ultimate skill is stronger than Divine Reaching Mystic Gate. I can't take advantage of you. These are seeds of 7th grade heavenly materials and earthly treasures, gifts from various dynasties to me. I intended to use them to enhance my cave, but now I offer them to you. Consider it." Gu An's impression of Sage Xianxia improved. He lifted a hand, the 7 wooden boxes adhering to the tree trunk beside him, saying, "You may leave now." Sage Xianxia immediately kowtowed, making the fox demon boy kowtow as well, and then led him away without lingering. Gu Wen watched their departing figures, silently lamenting, "What a fateful encounter." He wasn't referring to his and Sage Xianxia's but rather Sage Xianxia's and the fox demon boys. He couldn't resist casting another lifespan detection. Underworld Fox Demon, Energy Cultivation Realm 4th Layer 14/999/14,000. This maximum lifespan was identical to the Underworld Demon Emperor's, and both carried the name Underworld, implying a definite connection. Gu Wen even suspected this boy might be the Underworld Demon Emperor. Chapter 133, Becoming the Sect Leader of the Supreme Sect. The weather was cool and refreshing, and the early autumn breeze uplifted one's mood. The Third Medicine Valley. Gu Wen was picking medicinal herbs, while Lu Lingjun followed closely, holding a bamboo basket to receive the herbs he had bundled. "I see that you don't usually do anything significant. Why do you need my protection?" Lu Lingjun asked plaintively. An inner sect elder protecting an outer disciple? If word got out, it would bring shame to the inner sect elders of the Supreme Sect. "I usually don't trouble you much either. You enjoy the benefits of an inner sect elder and can cultivate under the mystic pure tree. Many elders envy you," Gu Wen said carelessly, unable to suppress a smile at the corner of his mouth. Currently, they were harvesting 6th grade medicinal herbs, each of which could bring 60 to 100 years of lifespan. It's indeed satisfying to plant and harvest herbs. Killing a cultivator in the unification realm would most likely only yield a similar lifespan but would involve grudges. Hearing Gu An's words, Lu Lingjun found them reasonable, But she still felt that her task was beneath her status, showing that LV Baiyan did not respect her. Lu Lingjun had already set a new goal in her heart. That was to become the supreme sect leader. Since LV Baiyan had bound her and Guwen together, she had to establish a better relationship with Guwen. Guwen had many advantages, and the high-rank medicinal herbs from this valley were enough to give him considerable influence. In the future, she would protect Guwen, then use his herbs to attract people, establishing a power group centered around them both, and gradually work towards her goal. Thinking of this, Lu Lingjun suddenly smiled like a blooming flower. Guwen happened to catch this scene, and goosebumps immediately rose all over his body. What kind of expression is that? Are you scheming against me? Guwen asked warily. Lu Lingjun, with a gleeful expression, said, "How could I be scheming against you? You are my valley master. Without you bridging connections, could I have today's treatment? Cough cough. Now I don't even limit your cultivation time under the tree. The current benefits are much better, aren't they? After all, there are few 7th grade treasure trees in the Supreme Sect." Guwen gave a fake cough and continued picking herbs after speaking. Yes, you're right. Anyway, I owe you a favor, and I'll return it in the future. That's more like it. Lu Lingjun didn't disturb Guwen's work anymore. After the time of 1 incense stick, 30 minutes, the two returned. Along the way, Lu Lingjun asked, "Valley Master, do you want to improve your cultivation level? You can make it to the golden list, which shows that your aptitude is not bad, it's just that you don't usually like to cultivate." The higher Guwen's cultivation level, the more beneficial it would be for her grand plan. Even if it's not bad, I am definitely not a genius. I made it to the list relying on magic artifacts. Don't try to persuade me. Strenuous cultivation, even if it allows me to live for 700 or 800 years, still takes up most of my life's time on cultivation. Why not just enjoy life directly? Not cultivating is about avoiding detours. My talents are not as great as yours. Guwen argued confidently, though for some reason, Lu Lingjun felt a trace of sadness. As an ascender, she had indeed seen many who spent their entire lives but could not escape destiny. How many people had cultivated arduously all their lives, only to die in tribulation, in feuds, or from inner demons? Even for herself, recalling carefully, did she have as many happy moments in her life as the person before her? At this moment, Guwen's image in Lu Lingjun's mind shifted. Although Guwen had a low cultivation level, he had a kind of broad-mindedness and life perspective that was beyond the grasp of ordinary people. Lu Lingjun caught up with Guwen's steps and asked, "Valley Master, do you think I should learn from you?" "Learn from me? What a joke. Your realm has already proven your talent. In this world, life is about striving. Since my aptitude isn't good, I strive for the depth of life. With your outstanding talent, you should pursue the length of life." Guwen said casually. He wouldn't let others follow his path, as he could seize lifespan but others couldn't. His statement was just to hide his true strength, not to guide others. After hearing this, Lu Lingjun admired Guwen even more. The two continued chatting while heading to the pavilion area. It wasn't until the evening that Guwen arrived at the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. Half a month had passed since he exchanged divine skills with Sage Xianxia. Guwen planted the 7 7th grade treasures from Sage Xianxia in the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. He wasn't afraid of this cave mansion being exposed. Even if it was, he could move it. He could use the Great and Minor Rui to shrink the entire mountain and then move it. Because these 7 seeds were of high grade, he would visit every other day, afraid that they might grow askew or conflict with each other. After careful inspection, making sure there were no problems, Guwen smiled. Currently, he was harvesting lifespan all year round, so traveling back and forth wasn't tiring for him but full of interest. When the next breakthrough came, he planned to open another cave mansion in a different place, get some people to help him manage the new mansion, while he focused on harvesting. The people managing the cave mansion needed to be able to endure loneliness. But that was a matter for the future. He walked to the wooden house, took out the Z-Way array Chronicles and a pile of formation materials, and began trying to set up formations. The new cave mansion would definitely need many sets of formations. He had to prepare in advance. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, in a hidden temple in the mountains and forests, Sage Xianxia sat in front of a pill furnace, cultivating the 9 extremes yin-yang body. His hands constantly changed spell patterns, dark green demonic qi emanating from his body, surrounding him. Knock knock. The door was lightly knocked. Sage Xianxia didn't open his eyes and said, "Come in." As the words fell, the door was pushed open, and a young fox demon walked in. He knelt in front of Sage Xianxia and said softly, "Master, I just had a nightmare." "What kind of nightmare?" "I dreamt that the sky broke open, countless demons and cultivators rushed out, slaughtering all living beings on the ground. I also saw a huge and terrifying tree with a face on it," the young fox demon replied. As he spoke, he couldn't help but tremble, unsure if it was out of fear or from the cold wind blowing in from outside. Sage Xianxia opened his eyes. The surrounding demonic qi dissipated. He took out a compass and began to cast a spell to deduce. The young fox demon watched intently, very curious about the compass in his master's hand. The compass emitted light, small starlights rising. Sage Xianxia raised another hand and pointed at the young fox demon's forehead. The young fox demon was immediately immobilized, his eyes wide open, glancing upward. Sage Xianxia's finger drew out strands of light from the fox demon's forehead, then channeled them into the starlight on the compass. Boom! A wave of energy burst from the compass, followed by the starlights exploding, forming a scene, exactly the dream the young fox demon had described. In the vision, the sky was continuously torn apart, black cracks spread over the forest, countless demons and black-robed cultivators rushed out, sweeping everything in the forest. Wherever they went, black mist spread, all life withered, and living spirits turned into white bones. Such horrifying scenes made Sage Xianxia frown. After watching for a while, his expression changed because he saw the North Sea. The young fox demon also looked equally frightened. Even though it was his own dream, he didn't want to recall it. After a long time, Sage Xianxia put away the compass, walked out of the temple, came to the courtyard, and took out a piece of yellow paper, quickly writing lines of characters on it. After finishing, he folded it and burned it with his own spiritual fire. The yellow paper turned to ashes, the ashes shimmering with a faint light before quickly disappearing. The young fox demon asked from behind, "Master, what are you doing?" "I am sending a message to the sect." "Is it the 3 Pure Ones mountain you often mentioned?" "That's right." "Master, when can you take me to the 3 Pure Ones mountain?" "Cultivate well." Outer disciples entering the 3 Pure Ones mountain need to undergo numerous tests. Your cultivation level and temperament are not enough yet. Sage Xianxia answered casually. After thinking for a while, he gave the young fox demon a reminder, then left the temple. Moonlight filtered through the tree branches, illuminating the young fox demon. He watched the direction Sage Xianxia left, his previously innocent face gradually becoming stern, eyes gleaming with cold light. Mountain God. In the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, Guwen put down his brush and talisman paper, his expression serious. Underworld Fox Demon has developed hostility towards you and is apprehensive of your strength. Do you want to cast lifespan detection on them? Apprehensive? What level of hostility does this constitute? Should I kill them? Thinking of the Underworld Fox Demon's maximum lifespan of 14,000 years made him uneasy. Although demons have a much longer maximum lifespan compared to humans of the same realm, anyone who lives beyond 10,000 years is a formidable great demon. Guwen looked up, using his divine sense to see Sage Xianxia approaching him. Better to meet Sage Xianxia first. After the time of 1 incense stick, Sage Xianxia arrived in the forest. He knelt on the ground and called out loudly, "Pindao has matters to seek audience with the mountain god." As the words fell, the mountain god appeared out of nowhere on a branch not far away, without any indication, making Sage Xianxia secretly admire the mountain god's vast divine skills. Before Guwen could speak, Sage Xianxia took out the compass, casting spells and explaining his disciple's dream. Once the compass reenacted the dream, Sage Xianxia continued, The North Sea appeared in the dream, which might signify a calamity for the North Sea. Guwen silently thought it was troublesome. It's again the Ephemera sect. The tree in the dream was the Ephemera tree, indicating that the Ephemera sect main lineage was preparing to launch a full-scale attack on the Nine Dynasties region. How many Ephemera trees are there? Guwen felt an urge to eradicate the Ephemera sect completely to avoid them disrupting his farming. However, before that, Guwen planned to give the underworld fox demon a bit of trouble. Your disciple is not simple. Whether it is a blessing or a curse, it is hard to say. Guwen said leisurely. Upon hearing this, Sage Xianxia's expression changed dramatically. It seemed he remembered something, and cold sweat began to form on his forehead. This reaction surprised Guwen. Does my word carry that much weight? Sage Xianxia remembered what his master had said to him. Xianxia, you will face 9 tribulations in your life. Each tribulation is a life or death situation, stemming from your interactions with the secular world. You can't avoid them, you can't escape them. Surviving the tribulations will lead to nirvana. He looked at Guwen again, his eyes filled with respect. As expected of the mountain god, capable of seeing through fate and cause and effect. He took a deep breath, stood up slowly, and then bowed to Guwen, saying, "Thank you for the mountain god's guidance. I will be cautious." After speaking, he turned and left. Guwen tilted his head, showing a confused expression under his opera mask. Chapter 134. 9 Nether Domain, Chaos in the World. After returning to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, Guwen lost interest in practicing formations. He began watching the scene, with his divine sense following Sage Xianxiao. When Sage Xianxiao returned to the Taoist temple, he indeed clashed with the underworld fox demon. The night sky timely poured down with heavy rain, causing the world to become noisy. In the rainy night, Sage Xianxiao held a treasure sword, questioning the underworld fox demon about its origins. The underworld fox demon was terrified and said he had been injured previously, forgetting his origins, and would have died under the claws of a demon if not for his master's rescue. Under the rainy night, the master and disciple had an intense conflict. After arguing for a while, Sage Xianxiao, muttering about breaking the tribulation, acted as if possessed and raised his sword to cut down the underworld fox demon. The underworld fox demon, frightened, fled in panic, pleading for mercy, but it did not awaken any pity in Sage Xianxiao. From Sage Xianxiao, Guwen sensed a trace of demonic qi. He could not tell if this guy was inherently demonic or if it was the result of practicing the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Eventually, the underworld fox demon could no longer act and burst forth with a powerful demonic aura, simultaneously beginning to frantically absorb nature's spiritual energy, quickly coalescing into a terrifying demon shadow, invoking the impression of some summoning spell. The aura of that terrifying demon shadow rivaled the 9th layer of the void-crossing realm. Guwen guessed that it was the underworld demon emperor. Sage Xianxiao, at the divinity transformation realm, was no match for this demon shadow. At a critical moment, he once again cast the divine-reaching mystic gate, summoning a great cultivator from the mystic heart realm. The mystic heart realm great cultivator immediately shattered the demon shadow with a squeeze, and the underworld fox demon took the opportunity to escape. At the crucial moment, Sage Xianxiao still relented and allowed the mystic heart realm great cultivator to spare the underworld fox demon's life. After the divine-reaching mystic gate dissipated, Sage Xianxiao collapsed again, beginning to cough blood madly. It seemed the cost of casting the divine-reaching mystic gate was very high. What a vivid and thrilling conflict scene. Guwen's heart was filled with emotion, feeling as though he was reading a novel. The underworld fox demon harbors malice toward you, hating you to the bone. Do you wish to perform a lifespan detection on it? Here it came. Time to work. Guwen got up, stretching his muscles and bones. In the mountain forest, the underworld fox demon hastily fled, looking extremely disheveled under the torrential rain. After escaping for an unknown amount of time, he stopped under a large tree, pressing against a wound on his waist. The rainwater soaked his long hair, and his face twisted with a grim expression. "Mountain God, damn it, I was so close to succeeding," the underworld fox demon muttered to himself, eyes full of killing intent. He did not believe in any mountain god. He suspected that person to be some sort of evil spirit. Regardless, whoever dared to ruin his plan to enter the Three Pure Ones mountain would face his revenge. "Are you talking about me?" A voice suddenly sounded in the underworld fox demon's ear, startling him. He reflexively turned his head, only to see a little figure in white with an opera mask standing on his shoulder. Before he had a chance to react, a terrifying divine sense surged into his soul. "So you're here." When Gu's divine sense invaded the underworld fox demon's body, he discovered another primordial spirit hidden deep within the underworld fox demon's soul. The underworld demon emperor. This guy was pretty impressive, able to escape the notice of a Mahayana cultivator. But unfortunately, he should not have harbored dark intentions. Gu began to perform the soul-capturing skill to extract the underworld demon emperor's memories. The memories of the underworld demon emperor were too vast. Finding it bothersome, Gu only extracted the past 100 years of memories. After a quick soul search, he finally understood the origins of the underworld demon emperor. The underworld demon emperor came from the Nine Nether Road, a demon who had been hunted by the Ephemera sect for years. 200 years ago, he took advantage of the Ephemera sect opening the Nine Nether Road to escape to the Nine Dynasty land. For 200 years, he wandered the world, visiting many sections. Among all, he believed the Three Pure Ones mountain to be the most formidable, with its profound Taoist sorcery and a history spanning over 10,000 years, making it the oldest sect in the Nine Dynasty land. He attempted to infiltrate it but was discovered just as he stepped foot into the mountain gate and nearly perished, which led him to hold a grudge against the Three Pure Ones mountain. The underworld fox demon was a small fox possessed by the underworld demon emperor, its original soul erased. The possession technique he used was unique and hard to detect. He manifested the scene of the Ephemera sect's attack to force sage Xianxia to return to the Three Pure Ones mountain, avoiding lingering in the North Sea mountain. Unexpectedly, after learning about this, sage Xianxia went to find the mountain god. This made the underworld demon emperor hostile toward the mountain god. After sage Xianxia returned to confront him, and after a series of battles, his hostility turned into killing intent. The whole event felt somewhat serendipitous, but since the underworld demon emperor developed killing intent toward Guan could not let him live. An hour later, Guan retracted his divine sense, then used Taicang True Fire to incinerate the underworld fox demon, burning him to ashes and scattering his soul, successfully gaining 93 years of lifespan. He then returned to the Supreme Sect. Back in the Mystic Valley Pavilion, Guan sat at his desk and took out pen and paper. He first wrote 3 large characters. Nine Nether Domain. Through the underworld demon emperor's memories, Guan learned that the Nine Nether Road was an independent world called the Nine Nether Domain. Within the Nine Nether Domain existed demon clans, demon tribes, and ghostly spirits, constantly oppressed by the Ephemera sect. He planned to write the Nine Nether Domain into an encyclopedia and later hand it over to the Supreme Sect in another way, making it easier for the Supreme Sect to explore. Autumn leaves covered the Mystic Valley, with over 20 servant disciples sweeping the fallen leaves. Guan descended the stairs, happening to see several Supreme Sect disciples flying swiftly in the sky. He only glanced at them and then looked away, preparing to head to the Third Medicine Valley. Before reaching the transmission array platform, Guan sensed a presence, so he stopped and turned to look at the working servant disciples. 30 minutes later, Yi Lan flew into the Medicine Valley, pulling Guan upstairs for a conversation. After closing the door, Yi Lan said in a deep voice, "The Nine Nether Road is in crisis. The Ephemera sect has arrived, and a great battle is imminent. Not only the Nine Nether Road, but the Ephemera sect's demon cultivators have also appeared in various places. This time, the situation is completely different from before. The law enforcement hall must go out to protect the common people. I have to leave today." "So urgent?" Guan immediately took out a batch of healing pills and handed them to Yi Lan. Yi Lan did not refuse. Following this, she instructed, during this period be careful. According to our investigations, there are traitorous spies from the Ephemera sect within the Supreme sect. This time, we face the main lineage of the Ephemera sect, and they might be going all out. This could be a once-in-millennium catastrophe. I understand. Take care, and don't let go of your white spirit sword. Guwen nodded and said. Hearing this, Yi Lan raised her white spirit sword and said with a smile, Good. After providing some important information, she hurriedly left. Standing before the pavilion, Guwen watched her leave and had already sensed battles erupting in the distance, and in more than one place. This time, the Ephemera sect's offensive was far beyond previous ones, transitioning from defense to invasion. For the time being, Guwen had no intention of intervening, letting the 9 dynasties hold them off to avoid alerting the enemy. His target was to deal with the Mahayana cultivator. Before that, Guwen decided to find a place to break through. Mahayana versus Mahayana. Confidence was needed. Guwen's life had too few combat experiences, while the opponent was certainly a 1,000-year-old monster. He was not adept at life and death struggles. He was skilled at crushing enemies. He needed to find a suitable place. It could not be the North Sea Mountain anymore. The Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion was there, and he could not damage the spiritual ecosystem. After considering, Guwen headed to the 3rd Medicine Valley, and then to the Inner Sect. With the Valley Master token from the 3rd Medicine Valley, he could freely enter the Inner Sect. An hour later, Guwen stepped into the Inner Sect city. After several months, the atmosphere in the Inner Sect city was very tense, with cultivators hurrying to and fro. He heard disciples around discussing the Ephemera sect's attack. The news had already been made public in the 4 major Inner Sect cities. From their discussions, Guwen learned that not only was the Taicang dynasty attacked by the Ephemera sect, but the other 8 dynasties were also under attack. It was said that more than half of the second batch of disciples sent to the 9 Nether Road had died or been injured, and even an elder had perished in the 9 Nether Road. The situation sounded urgent, and even Guwen felt affected. He made his way to the book collection hall and ascended to the 3rd floor, which housed various maps and records of different places. Because of the Ephemera sect's attack, there were few disciples in the book collection hall, and on the 3rd floor, it was just Guwen and one managing elder. For a long time, while Guwen was flipping through books, an old voice asked, Young friend, what are you looking for? Guwen turned to see the managing elder, Su Lu, walking over. He turned and saluted Su Lu, saying, I want to see how vast this world is. This Su Lu appeared old and feeble but actually possessed the cultivation level of the nascent soul realm. The minimum threshold for an Inner Sect elder was the nascent soul realm. Looking for the largest map? There's none here. Follow me, Su Lu said, gesturing for Guwen to follow him. Guwen was puzzled by Su Lu's actions but followed him to see what would happen. Earlier, you bought the Green Hero Travelogue here, right? Su Lu casually asked. Guwen replied, Yes, Elder, what advice do you have? It was because of the Green Hero Travelogue that this happened. Su Lu said slowly, Ever since a book called Supreme Secret Records spread among the people, few have come to buy the Green Hero Travelogue. This made my friend very sad. Seeing that you still fancy the Green Hero Travelogue, I will give you my treasured map of the continent. It was drawn by a Supreme Elder who traveled the world. Guwen, hearing this, became interested and asked, Elder, is Green Hero male or female? Of course, a man. No woman would write that kind of book. Is Green Hero still in the sect? No, only occasionally sending books back through others. Talking about this, they arrived at a door. Su Lu motioned for Guwen to wait and entered the door. Before long, Su Lu returned with a large scroll and a book, handing them to Guwen. Take these back and make a copy. Next time you come, return them to me. Guwen placed the scroll and book into his storage bag and then thanked Su Lu. Su Lu reminded, with your cultivation level, you can at most travel across the 9 dynasties. Don't form your nascent soul nor go to the demon land, and don't head south into the sea. I understand, Guwen replied. Su Lu waved his hand, indicating that Guwen could leave now. Guwen immediately left. As he reached the stairs, he sensed a powerful divine sense sweeping over him. There's a mystic heart realm cultivator inside the building. Could it be a supreme elder reading here? Including Xianxia, the supreme sect already had 2 mystic heart realm cultivators. This intensified Guan's resolve to break through. Damn that ephemera sect, enticing so many old monsters back. Chapter 135 Breakthrough to the 9 Layers of Nirvana Realm. Guan did not use divine sense to probe the Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators inside the book collection hall. Divine sense could not be used for lifespan detection, and using divine sense would be meaningless. If the other party practiced some kind of miracle skill and could detect higher-level spying, it would cause unnecessary trouble. Returning to the Mystic Valley, Guan went upstairs and took out the map scroll and the book given by Su Lu. The book was called The Chronicles of the World. It detailed the general situation of various places, and the information about all regions on the map could be found in this book. Guan carefully studied it, looking for a suitable place for a breakthrough. From the map, the 9 dynasties only occupied 1/10 of the continent. Outside was the land where demons roamed, various mountain ranges, and rivers with terrifying names, such as Demon Shadow Peak, Demon Bone Mountain Range, Human Head Ghost Forest, and Falling Immortal River. After much deliberation, Guan decided to go to the Demon Land for his breakthrough. The Demon Land was full of spiritual energy. And since ancient times, the Demon Land had no maritime dangers. This map was the best proof, as the Supreme Elder had traveled the entire continent. As night fell, Guan set off quietly and headed east, slightly north. Holding the map, Guan used the Limitless Freedom step to traverse quickly through the night. Soon he left the Taicang dynasty. In less than 20 steps, Guan crossed the 9 dynasties' land and entered the Demon Land. He felt the increase of demon energy, demonic qi, and ghostly energy in the world. In his divine senses range, there were evil presences everywhere. Looking out, the mountains and valleys were shrouded in thick mist, and those towering mountains appeared like giant demons, looming and terrifying. Guan sensed the life force. Almost all were demons. Occasionally, he could catch a glimpse of cultivators who were hiding and had set up formations to conceal themselves. A little over an hour later, Guan arrived at Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, a towering mountain range that stretched over tens of thousands of miles. According to the Chronicles of the World, in ancient times, a phoenix once descended upon this mountain and gave birth, hence the name Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was occupied by demons. When the author of the Chronicles of the World passed by this place, he was attacked by a great demon comparable to the Unification Realm. Perhaps the spiritual energy in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain wasn't the most abundant, but it was not a place that couldn't be visited. Guan used his divine sense to cover the entire Heavenly Phoenix Mountain and sensed 3 Unification Realm great demons. The number of demons exceeded 1,000,000, and the number of unrefined demon creatures and demons was countless. This mountain alone had so many demon creatures. No wonder it would form a tribulation of demons. Guan landed in a forest halfway up the mountain. He sat beneath a tree and directly activated the lifespan barrier. Following his gaze, the sparse forest with the demon mist billowing looked like waves under the night wind, eerie and terrifying. After watching for a while, Guan withdrew his gaze and then pulled up the attribute panel. Looking at his 2.38 million-year lifespan, Guan felt a pang of heartache. This breakthrough, who knows how many times he would fail. It was estimated that it would cost him several years of effort. But he had no choice. Staying alive was the most important thing. First, let's use 100,000 years to calm the nerves. With a thought, Guan invested his lifespan into his cultivation level. You have invested 100,000 years of lifespan to evolve cultivation. You have cultivated in qi absorption for 4,000 years. You used your great accomplishment in primordial earth immortal skill to forcefully impact the nirvana realm and began the tribulation crossing. You did not withstand the innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation and failed to pass the tribulation. You have cultivated in qi absorption for 8,000 years. You used your great accomplishment in Primordial Earth Immortal skill to forcefully impact the Nirvana realm and began the Tribulation Crossing. You did not withstand the innate 5 elements Divine Thunder Tribulation and failed to pass the tribulation. Good grief! 4,000 years for each Tribulation Crossing? No wonder the Nirvana realm was the first major obstacle of the Immortal Path 9 tribulations. As the notifications came quickly, Gu An's expression did not change. 100,000 years of lifespan went to waste. Let's do another 100,000 years. The evolution cultivation began again. Guan raised his eyebrows slightly. All failed. Try another 100,000 years. Guan refused to give up. As he started the third 100,000 years, his expression gradually turned sour. All failed. Guan's face darkened as he invested the fourth 100,000 years. The continuous failure notifications irritated his mind. Fortunately, this time it succeeded. Seeing the success notification, the gloom in his heart was swept away, and a smile appeared on his face. You have cultivated in Qi absorption for 74,000 years. You used your great accomplishment in Primordial Earth Immortal skill to forcefully impact the Nirvana realm and began the Tribulation Crossing. You withstood the innate 5 elements Divine Thunder Tribulation and succeeded, breaking through to the first layer of the Nirvana realm. You have cultivated in Qi absorption for 77,000 years. Your cultivation level rose to the second layer of the Nirvana realm. You have cultivated in Qi absorption for 80,000 years. Your cultivation level rose to the third layer of the Nirvana realm. You have cultivated in Qi absorption for 83,000 years. Your cultivation level rose to the fourth layer of the Nirvana realm. You have cultivated in Qi absorption for 98,000 years. Your cultivation level rose to the 8th layer of the Nirvana realm. Nirvana realm 8th layer. From the 7th layer to the 8th layer of the Nirvana realm, it took 5,000 years of lifespan. Guan immediately invested another 4,000 years of lifespan, successfully reaching the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm. There was no other way. Now Guan was used to not seeing any numbers other than 9 in minor realms. After reaching the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm, he could once again accumulate his lifespan in peace. Boom! The earth spirit energy surged into Guan's body, shattering his robes instantly. He raised an eyebrow and continued to endure the violent spiritual energy body refining. Unlike previous breakthroughs, this time, Guan felt pain. Nirvana was a transformation of the body and soul, so a little pain was understandable. At the same time, a flood of memories about the Nirvana realm surged into his mind. As Guan began to devour nature's spiritual energy, the spiritual energy of the entire heavenly Phoenix Mountain started to sink. This phenomenon was so intense and sudden that all the demons were startled. Gales howled, ravaging heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Roars and cries echoed throughout the world, deafening and terrifying. North Sea Mountain, deep into the night. In the forest, a dozen Supreme Sect disciples sat around a campfire. Zhen Qin turned her head to look at sage Xianxia, who was meditating under a nearby tree. She thought for a moment and then walked over. "Senior, do we really not need to set up a formation?" Zhen Qin asked cautiously. They were all disciples of the Law Enforcement Hall. While carrying out a mission on the Taicang Dynasty border, they were attacked by demon cultivators from the Ephemera sect. They were all trapped in a magic artifact and brought to the North Sea Mountain. Fortunately, Sage Xianxia saved them. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Sage Xianxia, with his eyes closed, calmly replied, "No need. If any Ephemera sect demon cultivators come, I will kill them." After the Underworld Fox Demons incident, he harbored an immense hatred for the Ephemera sect. He believed that the Underworld Fox Demon came from the Ephemera sect. Otherwise, why would it have taken the Ephemera poison and informed him of the Ephemera sect's imminent attack? It was clearly scheming against him. Zhen Qin hesitated but held back. Wasn't he using them as bait? Though she was puzzled, she chose to remain silent. With their foundation establishment realm cultivation levels, it was difficult to survive in the North Sea Mountains. They needed Sage Xianxia's protection. Sage Xianxia was not from the supreme sect and had no obligation to protect them. At this time, she could not afford to offend him. Zhen Qin returned to her previous meditation spot to continue cultivating. The other law enforcement hall disciples began whispering among themselves, discussing the ephemera sect. With the world in chaos, the ephemera sect's troubles this time far exceeded the past. These disciples of the law enforcement hall felt the pressure, fearing they might perish in this catastrophe. Do not worry. This area is under the protection of the mountain god. Once I recover from my injuries, I will send you back to the Taicang dynasty. Sage Xianmiao's voice echoed, drawing the attention of all the disciples. A male disciple curiously asked, "Mountain god? What mountain god?" Sage Xianmiao replied, "Naturally, the mountain Immortal. As for its location, I will not tell you." The disciples looked at each other, thinking Sage Xianmiao was acting strange. Had he injured his head? Even Zhen Qin thought Sage Xianmiao had a problem with his mind. For a moment, the forest fell into silence. Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, the forest shook like turbulent waves, the ground lightly trembled, spiritual mist sank while demon mist rose, creating the illusion of dragon shadows thrashing everywhere, a spectacular sight. Guwen, sitting under a tree with his bare body, completed the breakthrough after an ancient hour of settling. Finally, he reached the Nirvana realm. Upon achieving the Nirvana realm, his spiritual power transformed into mana, and his primordial spirit underwent a metamorphosis. Guwen's mystic heart was already covered in runes, about to hatch his own unique divine skill. He had an idea to create a divine skill based on his cultivation technique. His absorption of nature's spiritual energy did not slow down and continued. It would take some time to reach the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm. He opened his eyes, frowning. A demon was flying towards his forest location, currently 100 miles away. If the demon did not change its direction, it would likely intrude on his lifespan barrier. Hope the heavens bless you. If you intrude, even if you and I have no enmity, you will die. Guwen thought silently, then closed his eyes. He disliked unnecessary killing. This included demons. If they birthed spiritual wisdom, randomly slaughtering them felt like accumulating bad karma. However, if any life threatened him, he would not hesitate to be ruthless. Time continued to pass. Another ancient hour went by. Guwen's cultivation had reached the 6th layer of the Nirvana realm. The howling winds began to weaken, not because his spirit energy absorption had slowed, but because the spiritual energy of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was nearly exhausted. Now, the lifespan barrier was drawing in spirit energy from more distant regions. A few miles away, on a hillside, a red figure was advancing. The demon mist in the sky dispersed, revealing the bright moon. Under the moonlight, a red-clothed woman moved forward with disheveled hair, barefoot, and staggering as if she might collapse at any moment. Her long hair was a mess, with some strands stuck to her face by blood, only revealing her bright eyes. Her gaze was downcast, looking extremely weak. "I can't fall down. I need to rest in the forest ahead," the red-clothed woman murmured to herself, her vision blurring. She wobbled forward, taking half an hour to cover the few miles. Once she entered the forest, she collapsed into a patch of grass, unable to get up again. She was now less than 100 yards from Guwen's lifespan barrier. Chapter 136 The First Step on the Immortal Path. I am the true immortal of the mortal world. Guwen looked up at the woman in red, able to sense the dense demonic energy emanating from her. Generally, demons capable of complete shape-shifting were great demons, but the demonic energy of this one was merely comparable to the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, which was rather peculiar. He immediately cast a lifespan detection spell. Tianyao, Foundation Establishment realm, 9th layer 17/999/18,000. Her maximal lifespan exceeded that of the underworld demon emperor, breaking the record of demon clan qualifications known to Guwen. Aside from the spirit tree, the highest maximal lifespan belonged to the ghost mother of ephemera, reaching 54,000 years, But the ghost mother of ephemera was a ghost and incomparable. Guwen couldn't help but sigh, as the human race was truly struggling, with a destiny limit of less than 10,000 years. Of course, the human race's comprehension was higher than that of demon clans and ghost clans. At least, Guwen had not seen any demons or ghosts cultivating faster than Li Xiandao. While Guwen was lost in thought, he waited for the breakthrough to end. As spiritual power transformed into mana, its intensity underwent a dramatic change to an extent that Guwen felt he could easily crush his former self. Perhaps this was the true path of immortality. With the 9 layers of the immortal path, he had already crossed into the first layer and was no longer a mortal spirit. Unfortunately, unlike other cultivators, breaking through did not extend his lifespan, perhaps because of his unusual situation. Having not experienced a real heavenly tribulation, his lifespan could only be seized but not increased through breakthroughs. Nevertheless, this wasn't much of a problem, as his speed in seizing lifespans was already fast enough. Once the lifespan barrier ceased absorbing the spiritual energy of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, the entire mountain fell into a silent and oppressive state. Guwen sensed that the majority of demon creatures were fleeing from Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, as such phenomena signified calamity in their eyes. Time flew by. When Guwen's cultivation level reached the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm, he was immersed in a profound sensation. He slowly opened his eyes and examined the consumption of the lifespan barrier. This breakthrough had consumed nearly 50,000 years of lifespan. In total, he had consumed 454,000 years of lifespan to reach the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm. He still had 1,920,000 years of lifespan left, not counting the fractions. Not bad. Guwen stood up and took out a black robe. While dressing, he glanced at Xianxia in the distance. Now he could see things invisible to certain living beings. He observed a trace of gray aura on Xianxia and, as his divine sense probed into the gray aura, he saw scenes from Xianxia's past. Was this the legendary karma? Guwen began to glimpse into Xianxia's past, so he did not immediately dispel the lifespan barrier. After the breakthrough, the consumption of the lifespan barrier significantly slowed down, and leaving it active a bit longer wouldn't cause much loss. After dressing, Guwen dispelled the lifespan barrier and walked towards Xianxia. His insight into karma wasn't very strong, only allowing him to explore the karma of the past decade for Xianxia, unable to deduce the future. Glimpsing the karma of the past decade was already quite impressive. In just a few breaths, the past decade of Xianxia's life unfolded before his eyes. Guwen approached Xianxia, bent down to embrace the unconscious Xianxia, and then walked out of the forest. The moonlight bathed them, stretching their shadows far behind. Xianxia had a nightmare, dreaming that she was surrounded by a group of demons who wanted to tear her apart and boil her into soup to offer to the demon mother. She jolted awake, sitting up from the ground, gasping for air. Instinctively glancing around, she found herself in a cave. Her eyes were drawn to the fire, where a figure sat meditating beside it, causing her to shrink back and press against the wall in fear. "You," Xianxia stammered, unsure of what to say, still shaken. Looking closely, she saw the person was dressed in black, wearing a mask, exuding an air of mystery. It was Guwen. At that moment, Guwen was deeply immersed in the overwhelming power of the Nirvana realm. His divine sense covered vast lands, even allowing him to see the entirety of the 9 dynasties' territories from Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, a sensation he found utterly fascinating. Was this the realm of immortal path? Guwen felt like a true immortal of the mortal world, omnipotent. Xianxia's gaze shifted to a bottle of elixirs on the ground. After a moment of hesitation, she stepped forward carefully, picked up the bottle, and opened it. The fragrance of the elixirs made her eyes light up, and she immediately poured the elixirs into her mouth. After swallowing the elixirs, she felt her energy recover significantly, an indescribable sensation washing over her. She felt refreshed and invigorated. Noticing that the wounds on her body had already scabbed over, she shrank back again, curling up against the cave wall, covering her mud-caked feet with the hem of her dress. After calming down, She realized it was the black-clad individual who saved her. She curiously studied Guwen, finding his aura unfamiliar. Since breaking out of her shell, she had not encountered any cultivators of the human race. She had been raised by the demon mother since childhood, and the red dress she wore was also passed down from the demon mother. After a while, Guwen withdrew his divine sense and slowly opened his eyes. He turned his head to look, the eyes revealed by the mask meeting Xianxia's, making her pause and then snap back to alertness. "Thank you for saving me, Senior," Xianxia said timidly, like a small kitten. Guwen asked, "What are your plans now?" From his earlier glimpses, Guwen knew Xianxia was a demon nurtured by a demon king of the Unification realm. There were other demons in that cage, all very young, capable of shape-shifting at a young age, indicating their extraordinary qualifications. Due to the sudden depletion of spiritual energy, the demons believed a disaster was imminent and thus migrated. During their migration, they encountered a great demon, resulting in a battle. Amidst the chaos, Xianxia escaped. Subsequently, she fled all the way to Guwen. Perhaps due to their shared lack of parents, Guwen felt a tinge of sympathy for Xianxia and did not leave immediately. Xianxia hesitated, unsure how to respond, feeling lost. "I'll give you two options. 1. I take you out of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain to a distant place for you to survive. 2. You serve me from now on. In return, I will ensure your safety." Guwen's voice resonated, and upon hearing it, Xianxia showed signs of internal conflict in her eyes. Xianxia gritted her teeth and asked, "Can you avenge me? My parents were killed by the demon mother. If you can avenge me, I'll follow you forever. The Heaven Phoenix demon mother is too powerful. I'm not her opponent, but I can teach you cultivation techniques. You can avenge your own parents in the future," Guwen replied. The Heaven Phoenix demon mother was in the Unification realm, certainly not someone Guwen could defeat at present, but he didn't want to reveal his full strength. From Xianxia's memories, there were hints that the Heaven Phoenix demon mother had lived for thousands of years. Killing her would likely only yield a 2-digit lifespan gain, not worth exposing his cultivation level. Even though Guwen intended for Xianxia to manage his new cave mansion, he preferred not to reveal his true power. One must always hold something back. Currently, he was only in the first realm of the Immortal path, far from being invincible. What if someone traveled through time in the future to kill him? He wanted to ensure that no one would ever know when he truly became powerful. Xianxia showed a look of disappointment in her eyes, but after reconsidering, it made sense. She had never heard of anyone mightier than the Heaven Phoenix demon mother. She cautiously asked, "If I follow you and cultivate, will I have a chance to avenge them?" "You'll at least have a better chance, won't you?" "All right, I'll follow you." Immediately, Guwen waved his sleeve, and the vacant ground behind him suddenly collapsed, soon filling with water to form a pool. "Go wash up," Guwen said, standing up and heading towards the cave's entrance. Xianxia hurriedly got up and nervously asked, "Where are you going?" "Just to take a look outside." "I'll come back after you're done," Guwen responded without stopping, merely waving his hand. Xianxia watched his retreating figure, hesitating to say more. For some reason, Guwen's attitude made her feel more favorable towards him. Maybe following him would be better than her previous life. Xianxia turned to the pool, gazing into it, wondering in surprise, "He seems really powerful. Is he truly no match for the demon mother?" Guwen stepped out of the cave, sunlight pouring down on him. Standing halfway up the mountain, surrounded by flora, his view was unhindered. Looking out, he saw an array of mountains and rivers, enveloped in dense mist, resembling an immortal realm. It was difficult to associate such a beautiful scene with the demon land. Guwen's divine sense spread out, searching for a suitable place to establish his cave mansion. Today, he planned to create an underground cave mansion, settling Xianxia before he returned. Fortunately, he had already prepared all kinds of formation materials, enough to set up a concealed cave mansion, which he would continue to refine over time. Soon he located a spirit lineage, deciding to establish the cave mansion beside it. Leaving behind a yin-yang clone, his true self disappeared into thin air. Half an hour later, Xianxia crouched by the fire, hugging her knees. Firelight illuminated her delicate face as she stared into the flames, lost in thought. When she heard footsteps from the cave's passage, she snapped out of her daze and quickly stood up. Moments later, Guan entered the cave chamber. Seeing the cleaned-up Xianxia, he felt satisfied internally. She looked pleasing enough to manage the cave mansion, serving as an eye-pleaser. With a wave of his sleeve, a breeze blew towards Xianxia, causing her long hair to flutter and her clothes to swell, compelling Guan to avert his gaze. Xianxia felt her hair suddenly fluff up, her clothes drying, and all traces of moisture on her body disappearing. Guan raised his hand, beckoning her into the air, grabbing her shoulder, and the two vanished from the cave. Xianxia felt as if the world was spinning, an uncomfortable sensation preventing her from opening her eyes, with her divine sense unable to extend, prompting her to instinctively grab Guan's belt tightly. Soon she felt her feet touch the ground, the discomfort dissipating. She opened her eyes, and her eyes widened in disbelief. They had arrived in a vast underground space, similar in size to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, with various spirit stones encrusted on the walls, glowing and imbuing the air with dense spiritual energy, making Xianxia feel at ease. This cave mansion was personally carved out by Guan, appearing as though naturally formed, with an environment that seemed crafted by supernatural forces. From now on, you'll live here. Rest and recover first, don't go outside. This is still Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. If you get bored, you can read these books. Guan produced books like Investiture of the Gods and Supreme Immortal Venerable from his sleeve and placed them on the ground. With that, he disappeared into thin air. Xianxia crouched down and picked up a copy of Investiture of the Gods, flipping it open, her face full of confusion. She was illiterate. Chapter 137. Is there an immortal in this world? The third Medicine Valley, where the autumn winds swayed gently. Guan walked out of the transmission array platform and headed towards a distant garden area. Although he had just broken through, he hadn't forgotten the ripening times of the flowers and plants in each garden. Before he had taken a few steps, Lu Lingjun quickly approached him and said, "Valley Master, let me accompany you in harvesting." Guan nodded, having no objections. After walking several miles forward, Guan began to bend down to pick, while Lu Lingjun took out a bamboo basket, ready to receive. "Valley Master, with the world in chaos, should I go out and make a name for myself?" Lu Lingjun suddenly asked. So it was about this. No wonder she was suddenly attentive. Guan casually replied, "Then go to the sect leader and see how he arranges it for you. If he wanted to summon me, he would have already sent a message to me. If that's the case, then stay in the Medicine Valley. Who knows, one day the demon cultivators of the Ephemera sect might infiltrate the valley, and it will still be up to you to protect it." "But, Lingjun, you're a great cultivator, yet your Taoist heart is so restless? Isn't protecting the medicinal herbs also a merit? Is this merit any less than killing enemies?" Guan said seriously, but his hands did not stop moving. Having just spent more than 400,000 years of his lifespan, he needed to replenish it. Lu Lingjun was helpless. She wanted to go out and eliminate demons also for the sect leader's grand plan. However, she couldn't tell Guan that she wanted to become the sect leader yet, as Guan had a closer relationship with LV Baitin. Seeing her plan fail, Lu Lingjun couldn't help but change the topic, asking, "Valley Master, do you think there are immortals in this world? If the world is so vast, why can't mortal spirits see them if they exist?" "Of course there are, otherwise why would there be us cultivators? We are just on the path of pursuit." Guan answered, "Of course there are. I am one. I just can't tell you." Guan felt secretly proud, and at the same time he thought of a possibility. Could it be that immortals are hiding in the mortal world, and previously his divine sense couldn't detect them? Or perhaps the immortals are on the other side of the ocean, separated from mortals? Even upon becoming immortals, they still have to strive for higher realms. Nirvana is just the first step on the immortal path. One has to cross 8 tribulations to reach the pinnacle of the immortal path. What lies beyond the immortal path? For a while, Guwen was lost in infinite reverie. Although his mind was fluttering, it did not affect his picking of herbs. In the place where I was born, there were no immortals. Cultivators, upon reaching a high realm, could only pursue shattering the void. We believe that immortals are hidden in realms that mortal spirits cannot reach. Lu Lingjun continued, a sad expression appearing on her face. After ascending, she suddenly felt no different from before, still rolling in the red dust. Only this red dust was more vast, and the immortal path remained distant. Guwen listened, occasionally echoing a phrase. An hour later, the two of them returned to the pavilion area and then parted ways. Guwen walked towards the mystic pure tree, seeing from afar that Xiaochuan was squatting on the ground, observing the white spirit rat sleeping under the tree. Although Xiaochuan raised quite a few demon beasts, his favorite was the white spirit rat, but the white spirit rat did not like to interact with him. Guwen suddenly noticed that Xiaochuan's back seemed to have aged. Xiaochuan was only 3 years younger than Guwen, now already 70 years old, and had not yet reached foundation establishment. How could he not show signs of aging? Guwen had once given Xiaochuan a youth-preserving pill, but it could only keep his appearance youthful. Xiaochuan's demeanor and mindset had begun to age. This made Guwen feel a bit trance-like. 100 years from now, Xiaochuan would leave him. Xiaochuan didn't like to practice, and Guwen couldn't force him. Fortunately, even if Xiaochuan couldn't achieve much in immortal cultivation, he still led a happy life. This life was without regrets thanks to Guwen. Guwen came up behind Xiaochuan and asked with a smile, "Xiaochuan, what are you looking at? If you want to hold it, just pick it up." Xiaochuan looked up, helplessly saying, "It has a bad temper. Last time I tried to hold it and it scratched me." "Oh, why didn't you tell me? The rascal." Guwen immediately walked over, grabbed the white spirit rat by the tail, and lifted it up. The white spirit rat awoke, and when it saw that it was Guwen, it stopped struggling immediately. Guwen placed it into Xiaochuan's arms and warned it with his eyes not to resist. The rat reluctantly curled into a ball. Xiaochuan, now able to hold the white spirit rat, revealed an excited smile and began gently stroking its back. At this moment, Guwen sensed battle aura coming from afar. A mystic heart realm battle. One of the auras was Shen Quan's. He only glanced at it, having no intention of intervening. As long as the Mahayana realm cultivators of the Ephemera sect did not make a move, he was too lazy to step in. This was the calamity of the 9 dynasties, not his alone, and he couldn't let Supreme Sect develop a dependency on Sword Venerable Fudao. After chatting with Xiaochuan for a little while longer, Guwen finally left. Xiaochuan put down the white spirit rat, which then quickly ran back to the mystic pure tree to continue sleeping. Xiaochuan turned his head, staring at Guwen's back. For some reason, he felt increasingly distant from him. Though they were always together, and Guwen had no intention of leaving Supreme Sect, he could not help but feel a sense of loss. Fortunately, this sense of loss came and went quickly. "Little Yang, come over here, let's check on the spirit chickens. They should be laying eggs today." Xiaochuan called to a servant disciple not far away. The thought of the spirit chickens laying eggs brought a smile to his face. Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. In an underground space, Guwen sat on the ground with a steel placed before him, stroking his chin in deep thought. Tian Yaoer squatted nearby, curiously watching him. Unable to hold back, she asked, "What are you thinking about?" Guwen answered, "I'm thinking of giving this cave a name." He suddenly thought of something, looked at Tian Yaoer, and said, "If I let you name it, what would you call it?" She tilted her head, thought for a while, and said, "How about Heavenly Phoenix's little nest?" Guwen closed his eyes again, not bothering to respond. Tian Yaoer pouted, raised her hands like claws, and made a playful scratching motion towards Guwen, sticking her tongue out as if she wanted to scratch him. After another 30 minutes, Guwen stood up, startling Tian Yaoer, who quickly followed suit, her eyes wide as she watched him. Guwen raised his right hand, extended 2 fingers, and pointed at the steel, moving his fingers through the air. Xianxia looked down and saw a faint strength energy fall on the steel, carving 4 characters. Nianchu Cave. Nianchu, meaning to remember one's initial aspiration. Guwen feared he might become arrogant in the future. Today's conversation with Xiaochuan made him feel many emotions about life. Nianchu also represented his hope to remember the first group of people he met when he embarked on the immortal path. After carving, Guwen picked up the steel and walked towards a distant place. Xianxia followed closely, never leaving more than 7 steps away from Guwen since his return. After setting the steel in place, Guwen turned and began casting his magic, then squatted down and placed his hands on the ground. In fact, he didn't need to go through such trouble, but he wanted to show off in front of Xianxia. With his mana flowing into the soil, the barren ground began to sprout weeds, covering the entire area of Nianchu Cave in no more than 3 breaths, leaving Xianxia wide-eyed. This was Guwen's mystic heart divine power, which he called All Things Divine Presence. All Things Divine Presence wasn't limited to this ability. He could use mana to conjure flowers, grass, and trees within the range of his divine sense. The conjured plants contained his mana, providing him with vision. The uses were endless, and the summoning speed was incredibly fast, suitable for use as a lethal attack. With a wave of his hand, Guwen could easily summon a 10,000-foot wall of trees. He wasn't sure of the ultimate limits of this power yet. Just thinking about it excited him. Additionally, this divine power could also accelerate the growth of plants. Today, Guwen wanted to conduct an experiment to see if speeding up the growth process of medicinal herbs affected their lifespan. He took out a seed and buried it in the soil. Xianxia, already bewildered, watched the greens spread across the ground, doubting Guwen's claim, as she had never seen the demon mother use such methods. Half an hour later, Guwen looked at the fresh second-tier spirit grass in his hand and sighed. Forcing growth indeed diminished the lifespan. By hastening the second-tier spirit grass to maturity within half an hour, the lifespan was lost. According to his lifespan detection, this second-tier spirit grass was approaching its end, but the detection couldn't show the number of months left, making it hard for him to judge directly. It seemed he still needed to farm patiently. Guwen cursed his greed inwardly. His ability to seize lifespans was already very exaggerated, yet he wanted it faster. He stood up, and likewise, Xianxia followed, mimicking him. "Don't you have anything to do?" Guwen couldn't help but ask. Xianxia blinked and asked, "Like what? Aren't you seeking revenge? Shouldn't you be cultivating?" "How should I cultivate? You haven't taught me the cultivation technique yet," Xianxia answered, feeling wronged. Admittedly, her grievances were rather endearing. Guwen cursed inwardly and then asked, "How did you improve your cultivation level?" He had seen Xianxia's past, but only for 10 years. Since her early years, she had been kept by the Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother, occasionally fed various elixirs and medicinal broths. He had thought she had been given the technique of immortal cultivation during her childhood. "I don't know, it just happened," Xianxia replied. Guwen thought for a moment, realizing this might be a good thing, preventing her from abandoning her cultivation to start anew. Subsequently, Guwen began teaching the primordial earth immortal skill to Xianxia. She truly didn't understand cultivation at all, requiring Guwen to explain some basic cultivation principles. After a night, Xianxia finally learned to absorb energy by herself, allowing Guwen to breathe a sigh of relief. During the process, he realized Xianxia was completely illiterate. He glanced at the scattered books in the distance, pondering whether to keep a copy of the Supreme Secret Records since it contained illustrations. But then he dismissed the idea. Too disgraceful. He couldn't let an ignorant demoness see such books. If Xianxia developed bad thoughts later, it would affect his cultivation here. It was all Shenzhen's fault, making Guwen's thoughts increasingly impure. Some books deserve to be banned for a reason. Chapter 138 The Mountain God Descends. Punishment. The autumn wind was desolate. In the mountains and forests, Zhen Qin and others followed Sage Xianmiao forward. Sage Xianmiao walked at the front, leaving a trail of blood behind him, which made everyone behind him worry greatly. They knew that comforting him was futile. They could only try their best not to disturb him. Boom! A deafening explosion came from afar. The fierce wind roared, toppling trees. Everyone hurriedly mobilized their spiritual power to resist the gusts. Sage Xianxia raised his sword to block. His cultivation level in the divinity transformation realm withstood most of the pressure. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, which made the disciples of the Supreme Sect's law enforcement hall behind him sweat for him. After a few breaths, the wind stopped, and Sage Xianxia followed suit, half kneeling, stabilizing himself by leaning on his sword. The surrounding forest was almost entirely toppled, with leaves and debris flying around messily. Zhen Qin and the others rushed forward, concerned about Sage Xianxia's safety. Ever since Sage Xianxia had saved them, they had been fighting almost every day, which left his injuries no chance to recover, only worsening them further. Sage Xianxia lifted his head, his pale face full of unwillingness. He gritted his teeth and said, "The enemy is coming. Everyone meditate." Upon hearing this, everyone hurriedly sat down. After spending several days together, they had developed unconditional trust in Sage Xianxia. Without him, they would have been dead long ago. Sage Xianxia took a deep breath and said softly, "Call upon the mountain god in your hearts, pray for the mountain god to save us." He had no other way. His spiritual power was insufficient to cast the divine-reaching mystic gate. He could only think of the mountain god. Although this place was far from the mountain god's domain, he believed the mountain god would be able to sense it. Everyone was astonished upon hearing him. Some disciples even panicked. Not fleeing now, calling for the mountain god? Indeed, the world is in chaos, battles everywhere. Maybe we can escape amid the chaos. Next, we'll take turns carrying you. We will surely escape alive. We can't just sit and wait to die. Is there really a mountain god in this world? If there was, why would the ephemera sect run rampant? The more the disciples spoke, the more agitated they became. They could also feel a powerful aura approaching. Sage Xianxia said, "We can't escape, they have already locked onto us. Sit quickly, do as I say, and there's still a chance. If we delay and they capture us, we will neither live nor die." Upon hearing this, the disciples could only grit their teeth and sit down. Zhen Qin sat among the crowd, closed her eyes, and began calling out to the mountain god in her heart. She did not want to die here. For a moment, everyone sat on the ground, calling the mountain god's name in their hearts. In the inner sect city, Guwen was selecting seeds of high-rank medical herbs in the elixir hall when he suddenly sensed something. His expression turned strange. Mysteriously, it seemed someone was calling him. This feeling was very mysterious. It had never happened before. He extended his divine sense, encompassing the lands of the 9 dynasties, and soon locked onto Sage Xianxia. It was Sage Xianxia who was calling him. Although others around Sage Xianxia were also meditating, Guwen could clearly sense it was only Sage Xianxia calling him. He couldn't hear Sage Xianxia's thoughts but could feel his strong desire to see him. Could it be because of his mountain god identity? Guwen was curious. He suspected it was related to the Nirvana realm. He had known Sage Xianxia for some time and never had this feeling before breaking through. Guwen noticed Zhen Qin's presence, as a group of ephemera sect cultivators was approaching them. After hesitating for a moment, Guwen put down the seeds in his hand and turned to walk towards the door. In the mountains of the North Sea, among the fallen trees, Sage Xianxia, Zhen Qin, and others sat in meditation, their eyes tightly closed, as if they were ready to die. A group of black-robed cultivators flew in from the horizon, led by an elder holding a wooden staff. He had a head full of white hair, a face covered in brown spots, and a large python coiled on his shoulders, making him look malevolent and terrifying. He looked down at Sage Xianxia and said, "Sage Xianxia, are you surrendering?" He hadn't attacked immediately. According to the information, Sage Xianxia possessed a divine skill capable of summoning great cultivators. Many of ephemera sect's great cultivators had died by this skill. Sage Xianxia ignored him, continuing to chant silently in his heart. The elder with the wooden staff scanned the others, his gaze flickering with hesitation. The disciples of the law enforcement hall were extremely tense, most of them sweating on their foreheads. They didn't dare to open their eyes and could only frantically call the mountain god in their hearts, or pray for a miracle. After a while, the elder with the wooden staff snorted coldly. He raised his staff, and in an instant, demonic chi surged from the bottom of the staff, quickly covering the sky for 10 miles around. The disciples of the Supreme Sect's law enforcement hall sensed something and opened their eyes. In their view, it was as if they had suddenly been plunged into night, with the ephemera sect cultivators in the air looking like deathly ghosts, staring down at them. Everyone was extremely tense, their faces filled with despair and fear, including Xianxia. Sage Xianmiao also opened his eyes, sighed, and looked towards the sky, his gaze becoming calm. Disappointed? A voice entered Sage Xianmiao's ear, making him instinctively turn his head. Immediately he widened his eyes, full of surprise and joy. Mountain God! Others turned their heads when they heard those words. When their eyes fell on Sage Xianmiao's shoulder, they all widened their eyes. On Sage Xianmiao's left shoulder stood a small man in white, wearing an opera mask, whose head was not even as high as Sage Xianmiao's ear. Some disciples thought they were hallucinating, some even rubbed their eyes. The elder with the wooden staff frowned deeply, also seeing the small man in white. The other ephemera sect cultivators started murmuring. It was their first time seeing such a small person. When they used their divine sense to probe, they couldn't see the small man's true form and felt no aura of evil from him. Guwen leaped from Sage Xianmiao's shoulder and landed on a nearby crooked tree. Sage Xianmiao hurriedly bowed to Guwen, saying, "Please, mountain god, save us. The ephemera sect has committed numerous atrocities and even plans to sacrifice the people of the 9 dynasties. This is an abomination. Please save the world's common people." The disciples of the law enforcement hall came to their senses and all turned to kneel before Gu, and Zhenqin also knelt, feeling a strange sense of kinship towards the small man in white. Mountain God? Posing as a deity? I advise you not to meddle. The elder with the wooden staff glared at Guwen, coldly threatening him. Guwen ignored the threat of this unification realm great cultivator. He turned to Sage Xianmiao, leisurely saying, "The mountain god does not save the common people, only guards a single land. You are not of this land, yet you ask me to save you. It is against the celestial rules." Sage Xianmiao quickly replied, "If you help, we will offer you our worship." Sincerity is effective. Guwen turned to the elder with the wooden staff. Too lazy for further words, he raised his right hand, palm facing up. As he raised his hand, the earth trembled violently, astounding everyone. Boom, boom, boom. Huge tree roots broke through the ground, rushing toward the sky like a horde of serpents, forcing the elder with the wooden staff to dodge. Other ephemera sect cultivators couldn't evade in time and were pierced by tree roots, their bodies shattered, blood spraying through the air. The demonic chi in the sky dissipated instantly, sunlight pouring down. Upon seeing the spectacle ahead, Zhenqin and the rest were all stupefied, even Sage Xianmiao was moved. One by one, giant trees shot up to the sky. Looking to both ends, one couldn't see the end, as if a green mountain suddenly rose, piercing the clouds, shocking everyone's eyes. The elder with the wooden staff quickly dodged, wielding his wooden staff and casting imposing spells. Demonic chi surged, shaking the heavens. But in less than 3 breaths, he was entangled by thick vines. He was shocked to find his spiritual power suppressed within, unable to be released. How could this be? Could it really be the mountain god? The elder with the wooden staff widened his eyes in despair, and soon his face was covered by vines, and eventually his figure vanished within the intertwined branches, merging with the trees. From above, the land within a 100-mile radius was dense with giant trees intertwining, forming a mountain of trees that stunned every witness. Sage Xianmiao stared at the tree mountain. Even with his eyesight, he couldn't determine the height of these trees. Lines of prompts began to appear before Guwen's eyes. A small harvest. All these people combined barely account for 5,000 years of lifespan. Guwen withdrew his hand, causing the terrifying and magnificent tree mountain to dissolve, transforming into countless green light stars that quickly disappeared. The huge chasm like an abyss in front showed that the previous scene was real. The disciples of the law enforcement hall looked at Guwen again with eyes filled with reverence and incredulity. Such a small figure yet capable of godlike feats, truly the mountain god. Even stronger than the legend. Guwen looked at Sage Xianxia, stroked his chin, and pondered, "I told you not to reveal my existence. I must punish you." Sage Xianxia took a square wooden box from his storage bag and said, "I am willing to be punished. This treasure is a token of gratitude for the mountain god's help." Guwen raised his hand, moving the wooden box in front of him, then putting it into his storage bag. He had many storage bags and specifically used another to avoid Jinqin's notice. He leaped, flying to Sage Xianxia, gently tapped his forehead, and said, "The punishment is a 1-year drop in your cultivation level." In a flash, Sage Xianxia's face changed as his cultivation level quickly dropped, falling all the way to the Foundation Establishment realm. It was Guwen's divine skill, the path of returning primordial spirit. This skill, awakened by the primordial reincarnation skill, could seal someone's cultivation. Jinqin and the others sensed Sage Xianxia's rapid drop in cultivation and were all shocked. When Guwen looked at them, they took out their treasures to offer him, promising not to reveal the mountain god's existence to anyone. Guwen waved his sleeve, collecting all their offerings, then another wave of his sleeve sent a breeze sweeping them towards the horizon, including Sage Xianxia. Mortals and immortals are separate. If you break your promise, even if you hide to the ends of the earth, I will find you. Guwen's voice echoed in the ears of every law enforcement hall disciple. Chapter 139. Immortal Path Techniques. The eve of the final battle, Guwen manipulated the breeze formed by his mana to gently deliver Sage Xianxia, Jinqin, and the others to the border of the Taicang dynasty, before withdrawing his thoughts and then disappearing from the spot. This time, he mainly acted for Jinqin. However, the feeling of taking action was quite nice. It made him truly feel the power of the immortal path. No wonder the Nirvana realm is so special. Without experiencing Nirvana, human cultivators cannot live past 10,000 years. The difference between Nirvana realm and Mahayana realm is not just the strength of spiritual power, but a comprehensive disparity. After returning to the Supreme Sect, Guwen continued to procure medicinal herbs in preparation for planting at Nianchu Cave. Before sowing, he had to properly instruct Tianyao. Now he already possessed some methods akin to immortals, no longer needing to teach Tianyao hand by hand. He only needed to point his finger at her forehead to transmit a large amount of information into her mind. However, to conceal his strength, he decided to teach slowly. Anyway, he had plenty of time. On the other side, beside a large river, the disciples of the law enforcement hall looked at Sage Xianxia with words stuck in their throats. They could hardly care about the joy of surviving the catastrophe. They were more worried about Sage Xianxia being distressed. If not for saving them, how could Sage Xianxia have ended up in such a state? Sage Xianxia washed his face, stood up, and smiled at everyone, saying, "You don't need to worry about me. My cultivation was merely sealed by the mountain god for a year. Indeed, this was my ordeal due to my failure to keep my promise." The disciples all spoke up, taking the responsibility onto themselves, but Sage Xianxia merely laughed freely. Having his cultivation suppressed to the Foundation Establishment realm did not cause him any pain. On the contrary, he felt more exhilarated. Now he was completely convinced that the mountain god was a true immortal. The mountain god's methods made him feel incredulous and also very excited. The road of immortal cultivation can truly lead to success. Alright, everyone, now that we have returned to the Taicang dynasty, it is time to part ways. Remember, do not reveal the existence of the mountain god to anyone. Sage Xianxia cupped his hands as he spoke. All the disciples hastily returned the salute and promised not to reveal it. Considering that even someone as strong as Sage Shen Miao had his cultivation sealed, how could they dare to provoke the mountain god? They shared the same feeling as Sage Shen Miao, one of excitement, for they had seen unprecedented hope. The path to immortality is vast. Whether there are immortals has always been a persistent debate in the immortal cultivation world. Having witnessed immortals, they would be more steadfast than others. Autumn passed, winter arrived, and snow gradually covered the Mystic Valley. Zhen Qin came back to visit him, telling him about the chaos outside. There are just too many people in the Ephemera sect. Even with the combined forces of 9 dynasties, they can't kill them all, Zhen Qin sighed. She was only a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator, and the situation she could see was limited. Guwen often witnessed battles in the Mystic Heart realm. Now, great cultivators in the Mystic Heart realm were stationed all over the world. The number of Mystic Heart realm cultivators in the 9 dynasties had already exceeded 20 and was still increasing. The same was true for the Ephemera sect. The Mystic Heart realm was in a stalemate, causing the wars below to be deadlocked. This would be a protracted war lasting for years. Guwen was not in a hurry. He was just waiting for that Mahayana realm cultivator to show up, and the moment he did, he would kill him. His divine sense could cover the entire 9 dynasties, but the main lineage of the Ephemera sect was inside the 9 Nether Road, so he hadn't detected the Mahayana realm cultivator's whereabouts yet. He did not plan to go into the 9 Nether Road to capture him. He wanted to wait until the other party revealed himself so that news of his death could spread. At that time, the Ephemera sect, leaderless, could only disperse. After Zhen Qin finished speaking, Guwen poured her a cup of tea and asked with a smile, "Why do you seem so excited? Compared to before you left, your spirit state is completely different." Zhen Qin laughed and said, "Although there is killing everywhere outside, after this experience, I found greater motivation for cultivation. Master, I plan to go into seclusion next. Our batch of disciples has completed our mission, and the law enforcement hall allows us to rest next." Guwen took out a few bottles of elixirs from his storage bag, handed them to her, and said, "Cultivate well. In the future, Master will rely on you." Zhen Qin did not reject them. While accepting the elixirs, she laughed and said, "When I become an immortal, I will concoct an elixir of immortality for Master." Her spirited look made Guwen want to laugh. Since the departure of Su Han and Yen, Zhen Qin often came to Mystic Valley, still treating it as her home. Guwen never felt annoyed. He was always happy to see her. After Zhen Qin left Mystic Valley, Guwen began wandering inside, admiring his cultivation results. Time continued to pass. Although the immortal cultivation world was in chaos, the Supreme Sect was not attacked, and Guwen's days in the sect were still leisurely. After the end of the year came the new year. That year's spring festival was not as lively as in previous years. Guwen could only celebrate with the servant disciples. Until late at night he quietly came to Nianchu Cave. He appeared on the grass, feeling the spiritual energy inside the cave. With a satisfied expression, he noted that the spirit gathering array he set up began to take effect. At that moment, Tian Yaoer came over excitedly and asked, "Master, did you bring meat?" Since Guwen grilled meat for her last month, she completely fell in love with barbecue. Each time he came, she would ask if he brought meat. Nianchu Cave had no entrance, so Tian Yaoer couldn't get out. She could only cultivate and wait. "I brought it, but first we need to plant. Based on your performance, I will decide how much meat you get to eat," Guwen replied, making Tian Yaoer roll her eyes. Then, Guwen began planting with Tian Yaoer, teaching her by example. After teaching once, Guwen watched Tian Yaoer plant, which took half the night. Guwen found that Tian Yaoer had a knack for planting. She might look daft, but she was meticulous and skillful. After the planting, Guwen took out a leg of lamb and various special seasonings, making Tian Yaoer's eyes light up as she eagerly fetched firewood. 30 minutes later, Tian Yaoer squatted on the ground, gnawing on a grease-dripping leg of lamb while staring at another leg roasting on the fire. "They're all yours, eat slowly," Guwen couldn't help but laugh. Why did he feel like he was raising a cat? Actually, Tian Yaoer was not a cat demon but a bird demon. Judging from her lifespan, Guwen suspected she had the phoenix blood lineage. Xianxia chewed the meat and asked in a muffled voice, "Master, why did you come to Heavenly Phoenix Mountain?" Although they had been together for months, she still knew nothing about Guwen. Seeing him in a good mood today, she gathered the courage to ask. Heavenly Phoenix Mountain is vast and rich in resources. I came specifically for medicinal herbs. What we're planting now is what I gathered in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Master, do you know alchemy? Of course. The demon mother's subordinate has a demon skilled in alchemy, who enjoys her favor. Can you teach me alchemy in the future? It depends on your performance. Master, where do you come from? In the quiet cave, the conversation between the person and the demon echoed, and the firelight projected their shadows on the cave walls, constantly flickering. Xianxia looked at Guwen, feeling unprecedentedly relaxed. Though still trapped in the cave, she felt at ease with Guwen and no longer fearful. In the days that followed, Xianxia memorized all the cultivation details, making Guwen no longer need to come to Nianchu Cave every night. In Guwen's absence, Xianxia diligently cultivated, fearing his disappointment and abandonment. Therefore, she never slacked off since she started cultivating. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. 74-year-old Guwen's lifespan had reached over 2 million years, and everything was moving in a favorable direction. On this day, Guwen came to the Outer Gate City to submit the previous year's harvest from Mystic Valley. After leaving the Elixir Hall, he overheard disciples discussing major events in the Immortal cultivation world. It was said that the Ephemeris sect had set up a huge altar in Wanji Forest of the Taicang dynasty, preparing to sacrifice living people. Now in all dynasties, people were disappearing, and various sects from the other 8 dynasties were heading towards the Taicang dynasty. Everyone sensed a major battle approaching. Through divine sense, Guwen saw that altar. It was indeed large, occupying 100 miles in radius. At the altar's center stood a great cauldron with a large flag inside, filled with countless vengeful souls. Around the altar, there were as many as 40 great cultivators of the mystic heart realm stationed. It seemed that the Ephemeris sect was making a last-ditch effort. This also indicated that the Mahayana realm cultivator would soon appear. Guwen retracted his divine sense and walked towards Wuju's residence. Though Wuju had become an inner sect disciple, he hadn't sold his villa in the Outer Gate City, only that he wouldn't usually stay there. He felt Wuju's presence, indicating that Wuju was waiting for him. Upon arriving at the courtyard, Wuju, who was practicing martial arts, looked at Guwen entering the courtyard and smiled, saying, "You finally came. I thought I wouldn't see you before I left." Wuju's lifespan hadn't increased, but his cultivation had reached the first layer of the core formation realm. After closing the door, Guwen turned to Wuju and asked with a smile, "Why are you waiting for me?" "Master plans to take me to the Taicang dynasty to eradicate the ephemera demon path. Taicang is far from Taicang, and once we leave, who knows how long it'll take to return, so I wanted to bid you farewell." Wuju stopped practicing and replied. He pretended to be calm, but Guwen could see his inner tension and fear. To be honest, Wuju hadn't experienced a life-or-death battle yet, and he feared the Ephemeris sect because his master was slain by them. "A talent like you should have no trouble staying behind, right?" Guwen asked. Wuju shook his head and said, "The Ephemeris sect is powerful. The supreme sect must bring its full strength to eradicate the demons, and I have personal reasons that I must go." His eyes were firm. He wanted to avenge his master. Though he didn't know which demon cultivator of the Ephemeris sect killed his master, it didn't matter to him. As long as the Ephemeris sect was annihilated, he considered it revenge. "Then you must be careful. The demon path's methods are countless and unscrupulous. You can't just judge strength by cultivation level," Guwen began to advise. Listening to his lengthy speech, Wuju did not find it tedious at all. Instead, he smiled. With such a brother, he had to go. If the Ephemeris sect's sacrifice succeeded, the demon cultivators would eventually invade the supreme sect, endangering Guwen. Subsequently, Wuju began to talk about the scale of the supreme sect's expedition this time. The sect leader dispatched 1/3 of the inner sect disciples to Wanji Forest, illustrating the importance attached to this mission. From the direction of the inner sect, rolling thunderclouds appeared, sweeping towards the third Medicine Valley, seemingly ready to cover the entire sky. What was that sound just now? Could it be an attack from the Ephemera sect? But isn't the Ephemera sect in the Taicang dynasty? Since our supreme sect ranks among the top of the 9 dynasties sects, if we were destroyed, the morale of the 9 dynasties would certainly plummet. I hope it doesn't involve our Medicine Valley. Disciples gathered and began discussing. Guan also stopped in his tracks, standing by a wooden fence at the edge of a garden, looking into the distance, observing the battle in the sect's main city. The sect's main city was the largest city of the supreme sect. Inner sect disciples could enter the city but could not reside there. Only the high-ranking individuals of the supreme sect lived there. At this moment, 2 Unification Realm great cultivators were fighting in the sect's main city. As their battle progressed, more cultivators joined in, eventually forming a large-scale melee. It wasn't an attack from the Ephemera sect but rather spies from the Ephemera sect starting to act. After watching for a while, Guan realized that the troublemakers seemed to come from the same family. Lu Lingjun approached Guan and said, "Valley Master, from now on, do not leave the Medicine Valley." She also looked towards the sect's main city, eyes filled with gravitas. She had sensed the presences of at least 5 Unification Realm cultivators. Just Unification Realm cultivators weren't enough to unsettle her. She had a premonition that something extremely dreadful was about to happen. Guan nodded lightly, then continued to watch the battle. The third Medicine Valley quickly darkened, as if night had fallen. Rumble, a deep thunderous sound echoed across the sky, making it seem as if an ancient ferocious beast was roaring in the sea of clouds, creating a deafening noise. "It is time for you to show yourself. Our battle will determine the fate of the supreme sect." A cold, indifferent voice echoed throughout the entire supreme sect, making everyone who heard it feel a heavy pressure on their chest, very uncomfortable. Lu Lingjun's face changed slightly. She could confirm that the owner of this voice had a cultivation level beyond the Unification Realm. Guan saw someone walking among the clouds. That person wore a black robe, had a purple crown on their head, and 18 golden short swords floating behind them. As they walked forward with sleeves fluttering in the wind, they stirred up waves of energy, giving an imposing aura reminiscent of a dragon's presence. 5th layer of Mystic Heart Realm. This person was likely among the upper echelons of the Ephemera sect, with a cultivation level 3 layers higher than any Mystic Heart Realm great cultivator in the Supreme Sect. Meanwhile, in the inner sect city, inside the book collection hall, Elder Su Lu stood in front of the counter, watching a figure walking down the stairs from afar. He couldn't help but ask, "How confident are you?" Following his gaze, an old man with an immortal demeanor dressed in black robes came walking down the stairs, holding a horsetail whisk, his expression calm. He didn't stop, continuing down the stairs, leaving only one sentence, "I will do my best." Su Lu turned to look out the window. The rolling thunderclouds looked like a black ocean, stirring up huge waves, oppressive and horrifying. Worry appeared in his eyes. "Today is the first time since reaching Mystic Heart that I combat another Mystic Heart realm. May I know your name?" The old man's voice echoed throughout the entire Supreme Sect, bringing the restless cities to silence. Mystic Heart Realm? Lu Lingjun was also hearing this realm name for the first time. Above unification is Mystic Heart? Lu Lingjun's divine sense captured the figure in the clouds, her eyes filled with longing. She must reach this realm. She would surpass the Mystic Heart realm. I am Venerable Qi Qian of the Ephemera sect. Dying by my hand would not be in vain for one who has reached Mystic Heart. The earlier voice rang out again, with an arrogant tone that made the Supreme Sect cultivators worry for Ancestor Kusong. Boom! A tremendous pressure descended, covering the entire Supreme Sect. The thunderclouds in the sky churned violently, and almost all the cities lit up with protective light screens, using formations to resist the pressure from the battle in the sky. Venerable Qi Qian and Ancestor Kusong were already engaged in combat. The two fought fiercely high in the sky, not affecting the ground below, but their pressure was so immense that even the mountains between heaven and earth trembled. Lu Lingjun stared intently at the sky, not wanting to miss any details of the battle between the two Mystic Heart Realm great cultivators. Guwen couldn't help glancing at her. She wouldn't gain path enlightenment from this, would she? After a while, Lu Lingjun was still deeply absorbed, while Guwen turned and walked towards the valley entrance. The Ephemera sect had not only sent Venerable Qi Qian, but also an even more powerful presence. That person had already reached the entrance of the third Medicine Valley. From a distance, Guwen saw a woman in white walking towards the valley entrance, wearing a bamboo hat, looking very mysterious. Her hands were placed in front of her lower abdomen, white as snow, with a dignified demeanor, as if she were a fairy descended to the mortal world. It was hard to associate her with the demon cultivators of the Ephemera sect. Fairy by Xia, 9th layer of Mystic Heart Realm 2180/4900/6500, 9th layer of Mystic Heart Realm. This truly was an attempt to flatten the Supreme Sect in one fell swoop. Guwen sighed inwardly and walked quickly. Soon, he stood before Fairy by Xia, cupping his hands in salute. The Ephemera sect is causing chaos. May I ask what brings you here, Senior? Fairy by Xia's bamboo hat was draped with a veil, her red lips faintly visible, likely painted with thick lipstick. This, which was very cautious, using some secret technique to make her cultivation appear at the first layer of the core formation realm. Little brother, the spiritual energy in this Medicine Valley is so abundant, your identity must not be simple. Tell me, who are you? Fairy by Xia's voice was melodious, captivating. Guwen raised his hand and grabbed her wrist, saying, I am just an ordinary outer disciple of the Supreme Sect. Fairy by Xia laughed, her laughter filled with chill. She did not struggle against Gu An's grip and used sound transmission skill. It said that Sword Venerable Fudao is only active within 1,000 miles. Little brother, if you have information about Sword Venerable Fudao, I can spare your life. Guwen had anticipated her using sound transmission skill, so he chose to listen to her finish. Guwen's expression turned serious. It seems you are indeed a demon cultivator. In an instant, Fairy by Xia felt a domineering and unparalleled force invade her body. Her face, hidden under the veil, turned pale with fear. She tried to shake off Guwen's hand but found she couldn't. Her wide, beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. More terrifying was that she couldn't speak or let her primordial spirit emerge. She had never experienced such a horrifying feeling. Her cultivation realm rapidly dropped, her primordial spirit being pressed deep into her soul. Her cultivation fell to the first layer of the core formation realm, matching her outward appearance. Impossible! Fairy by Xia was nearly in despair. The opponent's might and the drop in her cultivation left her utterly irrational. In her desperate gaze, Guwen took out a pearl. The 1,000 Shadow Pearl given to him by L.V. Baden. With his left hand still holding Fairy by Xia's wrist, Guwen pressed the 1,000 Shadow Pearl onto her abdomen with his right hand. Demon Cultivator! Take this! Guwen shouted, and with a loud boom, the 1,000 Shadow Pearl burst into dazzling light. Spears of strength energy exploded, turning Fairy by Xia into a bloody corpse, covering Guwen in blood. The 1,000 Shadow Pearl couldn't kill a Mystic Heart Realm cultivator. Before using the pearl, Guwen had forced her soul to scatter with mana, causing instant death. His shout attracted the attention of many servant disciples. Lu Lingjun suddenly appeared in front of Guwen. Seeing him covered in blood, she frowned and asked, Are you all right? Why didn't you call me just now? Guwen pretended to be terrified. I thought it was an inner sect disciple. It turned out she was a demon cultivator from the Ephemera sect. Quickly destroy the body to avoid future trouble from the Ephemera sect. He was trembling as he held the 1,000 Shadow Pearl. Killing Fairy by Xia granted him an additional 495 years of lifespan. Not bad. Lu Lingjun, looking at the terrified Guan, immediately cast a spell to burn Fairy by Xia's body with spiritual fire. The residual mana in Bai Xia's body aided the burning, quickly reducing the body to ashes. Lu Lingjun couldn't detect the Nirvana realm's mana. These were vastly different powers. But she could confirm that the opponent indeed had the cultivation of the first layer of the core formation realm. Watching the ashes, Guan sighed with relief, muttering, "It's a pity she didn't have a storage bag or storage ring." Lu Lingjun retorted, "You don't seem too scared, considering you look so timid. You are a golden list genius, and an initial core formation realm demon cultivator scared you like this." She began to reflect on the insights she gained from witnessing the battle earlier. She seemed to have grasped something. The Mystic Heart realm was indeed fascinating. The gap between the 9th layer of Unification realm and the Mystic Heart realm was unimaginable. She suddenly felt that only by achieving the Mystic Heart realm, one can be considered a truly powerful cultivator. Chapter 141. Sword cultivators must always be calm. Looking at Lu Lingjun falling into silence once again, Guan could feel that she had grasped the opportunity for a breakthrough. It was obvious that Lu Lingjun had been stuck at the 9th layer of the Unification realm for a long time, and her spiritual power was no longer able to grow. Guan pulled her into the valley and said, "Tell me, what is the Mystic Heart realm exactly like? It seems so powerful." Mystic Heart? Mystic Heart? Could it be that there is something special about the heart in this realm? Lu Lingjun's expression changed upon hearing this. Her heart was undergoing slight changes, with a thread of special power surging inside. This thread of special power was, of course, Guan's mana. However, he used it so skillfully, and the gap between their realms was so vast, that Lu Lingjun couldn't detect it was his power. Instead, she thought she was about to undergo a transformation. This thread of mana circled inside Lu Lingjun's heart and then returned to Guan's body, giving Lu Lingjun a fleeting sense of loss. At this time, other disciples in the valley gathered around, asking about the background of the female demon cultivator from earlier. Covered in blood, Guan gave a few brief answers before going back to the pavilion to wash himself. Lu Lingjun returned to the wooden fence, looked up at the thunderclouds, and continued to watch the battle. For the 3rd Medicine Valley, Fairy by Xia was just a small episode. Even the servant disciples didn't pay much attention, not realizing that the deceased female demon cultivator's cultivation level surpassed all others in the 9 dynasties. Apart from Guan, she had the highest cultivation. Taicang Dynasty, Wanji Forest. Flags stood along the edges of the forest, enclosing a 100-mile radius area. Trenches carved out the ground, forming a labyrinth of rune paths when seen from above. This was the Ephemera sect's foundational formation, the 6-path Mahayana array. At the center of the formation, 7 black-robed figures sat in a circle, all meditating. They were all in the Mystic Heart realm, and above the 5th layer of the Mystic Heart realm, making them the top 7 among the Ephemera sect's 100 esteemed elders. One of the elderly women opened her eyes and said, "There are signs of a Mystic Heart realm battle in the direction of the Supreme Sect. It seems Vice Sect Hierarch and Venerable Qi Qian have started their actions. I wonder if Sword Venerable Fudao will make a move." Upon hearing this, the other 6 people opened their eyes. The Supreme Sect is in grave danger. Sword Venerable Fudao will definitely make a move. They say Sword Venerable Fudao's cultivation is at least at the 8th floor of the Mystic Heart realm. I wonder if it's true. He turned to the next page saying, "Son, when faced with matters, don't rush. A sword cultivator must always be composed." At that moment, the treasure sword placed beside him began to tremble violently, catching his attention. A vast sword intent leaked from the sword, causing Zuijian to be moved. "This is..." Zuijian trembled with excitement, forgetting the words he wanted to say to his son. The 9 Dynasties cultivators looked in horror at the origin tree of ephemera, while the ephemera sect members grew excited, confident of their victory. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.